The town of Genk, situated in the Limburg region of northeastern Belgium. The town boasts a rich cultural heritage, and it's shaped by its industrial roots and surrounded by stunning landscapes of the national park. But it also hides a motorsport haven. Welcome to the iconic karting Genk, the home of champions. Year of opening 1983, it was refurbished and rebuilt in 2005 to conform with FIA regulations. The event record was set by Clement Autran in time qualifying earlier in the weekend with a 54.642. The circuit itself, though, an absolute fabulous circuit. It's 190 metres down the start-finish straight. It's 160 metres down the back straight with a total track length 1.36 kilometres. The track width around 12 metres to 8 metres, only an elevation change of around 3, so it's a pretty flat circuit around here in northeastern Belgium. But the track itself, though, 15 turns. It's a roller coaster of a circuit. 9 to the right, 6 to the left, and the 2 hairpins out there. And overtaking opportunities, well, there are many of them. You see them in towards turn 2, turn 6, turn 7 at the end of the straight, turn 12, and turn 14. We've seen overtakes in many other places, but they're the main ones that the drivers seem to love and enjoy out there. Top speed drivers reaching 125 kilometers an hour down the start-finish straight in towards turn 1, with an average speed of around 89 kilometers an hour around the 1.3 kilometer circuit here in Belgium. It's karting Genk, it's the home of champions. Andrew Mather and myself, Anthony Jordan, in the commentary box. Andrew, we've had 3 rounds. This is round 4. This is the final round. It's not the final day, but it all falls down to this weekend, and we've got drama.
We have got drama already in the X30 seniors. We've seen our championship leader not have a good qualifying. It was already a very open championship picture. 5 drivers mathematically can win the title here this weekend in Belgium, but real uncertainty on who that's going to be come the end of Sunday.
Certainly will be. Well, the first race of the day is coming up very soon. Senior X30 qualifying heat A versus C. That will be our first race. And again, all the way throughout this one, our man Clement Autran, who's starting this one on pole position. Now, he has had so far a superb weekend, but he's only had 2 races. Others have had 3 races. There he is on your screen. Pole sitter in time qualifying. And at the moment, 2 qualifying heats out of 2. We caught up with him after time qualifying.
Here with Clement Autran. Clement, 1 group to go, and you are currently the fastest driver in X30 Senior. An absolutely tremendous lap, fastest lap time we've seen here today. Currently gives you pole position. You must be very pleased.
Yeah, I do a very good quali. I hope to win like all the heat and starting first in final. And for me, the car is perfect, and I need to win for the championship this weekend.
And you didn't quite get a 5th lap time in there, but your 4th one was good enough to be fastest in that group. Talk us through the session as a whole. How busy was it out there?
Yeah, I like the circuit. So the last week I win, but I took a penalty. So I need to win this weekend for like revenge, like for the last week.
And bouncing back from a tough time in Wackersdorf as well. How good does it feel to know you are back P1?
Yeah, it's very good because at Wackersdorf I have bad tires, so I am like P20 in the heat, so I need to do a great race here for a great point for the championship and up to like top 3 or top 5, something like this.
Thoughts about the rest of the weekend? Potentially some rain in the air tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm fast the rain, but I think it's okay.
Good stuff. Well done, Clement. We'll see if that time is fast enough for pole position, and best of luck for the races later this afternoon.
Thank you.
Well, great to catch up there with Clement Outron starting this one on pole position as the field make their way out, all bar the man who should have been starting on the third row of the grid there, Riccardo Ferrari, which you just saw, not moving. There is our race director for this weekend, Martin Bean, on his gantry, as always, ready to start the race proceedings here. But let's quickly take you through the full starting lineup. Clement Outron starting on pole position. He'll have Bertram Sash, who's had his best qualifying, I think, so far of the season, starting on row number 1 alongside. Yannis Boulier and Danny Carinini going from row 2. Danny Carinini needing the good results. He's got a championship fight on his hands. Johan Bernard, another new name at the front of the grid, who's had really not great results so far this weekend, but a great qualifying. Starts on the third row with Riccardo Ferrari, who hopefully recovers back to that spot. Marcus Glum and Eloy Gonzalez going from row number 4. They'll have Matthias van der Kerkhoff and Lewis Bird on row 5. Suleiman Zanfari and Luca Patoni go from row 6. They'll have Mark Granada and Alex Machado on row 7. Annabelle Briand and Fanes Yaril go from row number 8.
Asiar Garcia and Martin Hughes start on row number 9. Lawrence Sash and Leonardo Longoni complete the top 20 on row 10. Jeremy Swan and Tesfa Shaw start on row 11. Morgan Moore and Philip Svensson go from the 12th row of the grid. Keanu Wellens and Emilia van Overberger form an all-Belgian row 13 on home soil. Louis Aguiar starts alone on row 14. The 433 will not take the start in this race, is out of the rest of the weekend. Marlon Vatta and Dylan Patel start on row 15. There'll be 31 karts in total completed by row 16, Kevin Bakker and Juan Pablo Girard. Bit of housekeeping start of the day, if you need a bit of a reminder. Championship standings going into this weekend. Finn McLaughlin is your championship leader on 66 points. Danny Carinini in this race, starting on the second row of the grid, is 8 points further behind. Other drivers that we're going to be talking a lot about in terms of championship this weekend: Marcus Luzio on 49 points, Ruben Moya and Riccardo Ferrari on 36. But the drama, well, we'll come on to the drama in terms of qualifying later as we have a quick view into race control. David Manchester, our head of race control for this weekend in the centre, flanked by Joanna Falcao and Sara Blanco. Carinini, Anthony, hasn't quite been at his racing best. He's been very strong in the heats so far this season. 2nd and 6th so far. This is a race in terms of the championship picture. I'm really looking for him to step forward. Yeah, indeed. But the downside that he's got here, Andrew, is he's on the outside line going into turn 1. He's got to get that kart to the inside to really benefit these race starts. Here we go then into the tram lines. I think we're going green. We are going green. We are racing for the first race of today. And it's a brilliant start again from that inside row. Clement Outron, Bouard and Vigard getting through, and they're holding on to 1, 2, 3. You can see Carinini just getting squeezed down to P5 right now as he's lost out again to that inside row. Where is Riccardo Ferrari? I don't think he managed to get to that original starting spot. I think he's much further down in the order right now. Off the track is one of the Eichmann's karts. That looks like that's Emilio van Overberger. Unfortunately, out of this race. He will not be a happy bunny at all. No, didn't even get over the start line, so it looks like a technical failure on the 266. Drivers coming out of turn 11 into turn 12. I love this part of the circuit, Anthony. Fast, sweeping, challenging for the drivers. Yesterday we did see wet conditions in the middle of the afternoon. There was also a lot of rain overnight here in eastern Belgium. The track is greasy from this morning. It's not quite at its full pace that we saw in qualifying yesterday. Here we go. Here's a move from Bouillet down the inside of Clement Outron. Well, this is a bit of a surprise, you'd say. Yannis Bouillet, who's not been a feature at the front of these fields so far this season in the IAME Euro Series, but here on home soil, bold move there down the inside of Clement Outron. Good for the lead early on lap 2. Certainly is, but again, needs to maintain that as off the track of the background. It's got a little bit shaky for one driver, and I think that is Mark Granada, unfortunately, who's tumbled down the order. The same could be said for Tesfa Shaw, who I think was the main victim of that one, going wide at the exit of turn number 6. Back with the race leaders here on your screen, and again, still comfortable at the moment for Boulier, who is breaking away now from Outron. Bertram Strash still there in 3rd place, and in fact, all 3 of them have managed to break away from the 2 drivers just behind in the form of Marcus Glum and Viard, who are right there on your screen. Marcus Glum, who's had a brilliant start, 3 places gained, now sits in the top 5. Yeah, went to a little bit under the radar yesterday. Outron returns the favour down the inside, the exact same move, but the different way round. Clement Outron back into 1st position. Good move Yeah, Marcus Gloom, looking at the results from yesterday, we didn't talk about him too much on the circuit PA here, but 2 top 10s yesterday, solid start for another one of the home favourites, and yeah, a really bright start in this one. Currently on for his best result of the weekend so far.
Yeah, caught out a penalty in his first race, which bumped him back to his original starting spot. So, again, lucky for him that he had a really good result there. Now, I think, did we see a car facing the wrong way there at turn number 8? We'll try and figure out who that was. Drivers who have dropped down. That may have been, is that Louis Aguirre who's dropped down? Well, that's Sullivan Zanfari off the track. So that's one driver that we've seen going backwards, but we've got other drivers who've been caught out as well. So, yeah, big shame there. Any change to the lead this time around in towards turn 1? No, they've stayed behind. And that's going to be the most common place we see those overtakes, will be in towards turn 1, because the slipstream, the toe effect that they get down that main straight yesterday that we saw, it looked like some drivers had an extra, well, it looked like they had an extra gear in a gearless car to get the extra revs, because the closing speed in towards turn 1 was phenomenal.
And it's a good braking zone to get down the inside as well. You've got that initial kink of turn 1, and then it tightens for turn 2. As there we have a look at that's test for sure at Marshall Post 2. Unfortunately out of this race, and for drivers starting in the lower third of the field, their aim right now is to wrestle their way back into the cut-off for the superheats tomorrow. It's looking tough for Tess for sure now. That's not the kind of result that she would have wanted. End of lap number 4. Clement Neutron's lead is 0.3 of a second over Yanis Bouillet. Lewis Bird under investigation. Don't know what for here in the commentary box, but we'll update you on any more news when we receive it. Bertram Sash still there in 3rd place. Biggest mover out there at the moment. I think we're looking at Morgan Moore. Good start for Morgan Moore. The Irishman for Premium Karting is up 7 places so far in his first appearance. At a senior level. It's impressed me a lot across his racing in 2024 so far, Anthony, and showing again he's stepping up well.
Danny Caronini, big send down the inside there on Verard for P5. Not able to get the door closed though. So Johan Verard holds on to it, but now they switch, and now Caronini says to him, right, let's go, let's catch up to the likes of Marcus Glum, who's breaking up away. And I want to cut back to what we were mentioning at the start of this race, Andrew. Caronini, his pace has been exemplary, but it's just not been the Caronini pace that we expect.
No, it's not. The good side of things is, of course, drop scores come into play this weekend. So across the 4 rounds, everybody has 8 scores. 4 of them for all of their efforts across the heats, and then the 4 finals. The worst one of each of those categories gets dropped. Caronini's heat scores have been really, really good through the course of the season. He had a 2nd in the intermediate classification in Zlera, was P1 on home soil in French Quarter, and then 4th last time out in Germany. So it's really the finals where he's maybe looking to just save himself and go big to try and get that result. The difficult side of this, though, is that's a much harder task if he ends up further down the order in the intermediate classification. Right now, he's not even featuring in the top 8. So, yeah, things to think about for Danny Caronini. On board with Marcus Gloom. This is the 297 for Euro Karting, currently in 4th place on your screens. Take us on a lap, Anthony Jordan, around this beautiful circuit.
Well, I mean, we're already halfway round it. We're going in towards turn 5 now, and you're already seeing there a lot of that inside curb getting used there, which in the dry conditions seems unusual. But remember, this is a green circuit at the moment. A lot of rain last night. Down the back straight, 160-metre back straight. Then you come into this section here, flip-flops. You've got to avoid those flip-flops as you exit out of turn number 8, because, again, any hitting those, you could be sent to the stewards. Here now in towards turn 11. This is the 2nd of the 2 hairpins. You then got a short straight down into turn 12, right in front of the grandstand. You want to get a good overtake there because everyone will see it. Out of there through turn 13, you then come into the last 2. The first one, turn 14, again, crucial place to get an overtake if you've got the pace, and then you wind it up as you exit out and you go down the start-finish straight. That is a lap of Genk. It is a superb circuit. It's a driver's circuit, is Genk.
Yeah, it's one that gives the drivers real satisfaction when they get in the groove, get in a bit of a rhythm. And this race now on its 8th lap of 11. This is the fight for 2nd place on your screens. Yanis Bouillet and Bertram Sash. Sash looking for a best performance of the season has been there or thereabouts in terms of pace. I think it's just been knitting all of it together that so far this weekend Bertram Sash seems to be achieving. On for another third place, picked one up yesterday in his second heat and got a 9th in his first, and would love to be featuring at the sharp end and scoring some championship points, maybe even getting on the podium for the rest of the weekend. End of lap 8. Clement Neutron, Anthony, again, as we saw yesterday, looking very composed out there, and this could be a bit of a problem for those fighting in the championship if Neutron's taking points away.
Indeed. This is Danny Carinini going down the inside. Carinini up into 5th place, and that move there settled it. Johan Varard down to P6 now, and will have to recover back. But yeah, back to what you were saying. Carinini, again, his pace has been on it all weekend, but again, has just been not breaking away at those large gaps, but he seems to be in just the right mindset, the right setup is there, everything seems to be going his way. I mean, the TB Kart team are a good team. They're well known in these parts. They're well known with other drivers, and the likes of Eli Goldstein's been racing with TB Kart, and he is here this weekend as Eli Goldstein. But as a wild card, it was not a wild card. He was in the first round at Zuera. He missed out in the middle 2 rounds, and now he's come back to this last round here. But we've not seen much of him. Bertram Sash to the inside, gets through on Boulier and moves up into P2 through turn number 2. And again, nicely done there. There is a look at some of the conditions that we've got out there. Air temp at the moment, 21 degrees. Track temp is no higher than that. Well, like we were saying, it's green, it's cold because all the rain we had last night. Only 28.4 degrees right now.
Yeah, it's still below the 30s that we saw earlier on in the weekend, and it's keeping the drivers on their toes, reading these conditions. 2 laps to go, 1.5 laps to go. Fastest driver out there is Riccardo Ferrari. The issue for one of your championship contenders is down in 10th place, and it was a small glimmer of hope, I think, for Ferrari at the start of the weekend, but I think we started to see those hopes extinguish. A 20th yesterday along with a P2. Yes, the P2 was very good, but for Ferrari to be still in the mix mathematically come Sunday, he needs to be winning these heats.
No, exactly, and that is just not happening, despite the fact that he has recovered back to 10th after he didn't start in his original starting spot of P6. So again, that qualifying certainly went his way, but his races haven't been going his way, especially if it rains, because he really struggled yesterday in the rain. But there you can see in the dry, Riccardo Ferrari, fastest lap of the race, so it just shows that he does prefer those dry conditions. This young man here, though, Clement Neutron, your race leader, is looking for his 3rd win out of 3 to maintain his dominant performance. He is the only driver right now who has maintained that solid streak, and out of the final corner he will maintain it. Across the line it will be Clement Neutron who takes the 1st win of the day, but his 3rd of the weekend. Bertram Sash finishes in P2 ahead of Johan Boulier, Yanis Boulier, I should say, in 3rd place. Marcus Glum from Danny Carinini. Johan Villard finishes in P6 ahead of Lewis Bird. Alex Machado and Riccardo Ferrari finish in the top 10, with Elo Gonzalez rounding out the top 10. Annabelle Briand from Lauritz Sash. Matthias van der Kerkhoff from Keanu Wellens in P14. 11 places gained for Keanu Wellens. Finishes just ahead of Garcia on 15th place. But again, superb race from that man there on your screen. Clement Neutron, Andrew.
No fuss racing. Really good performance from Clement Neutron so far this weekend, and straight away that means that Neutron will have the lead guaranteed at the end of round 4 of these heats, because he is still the only driver to be unbeaten this weekend. There's your provisional classification from the first race of the day. The next time that we will see groups A and C out on circuit will be later on this morning, of course, when they go for their 4th race, as both of these groups have had their sit-outs at this stage. So very much look forward to that. It'll be 12:25 for Group A, 12:45 local time for Group C.
Certainly will be. Drivers make their way back into Parc Fermé. The weighbridge, of course, is ahead of them. They need to make sure they are within the weight limits, any weight underneath what they should be. And in seniors, I believe 150, if I'm correct in saying. They'll be in a spot of bother, but looks like it's all good for Clement Outron. Let's take you through some of the highlights on that one. Start a little bit shaky for some drivers not even getting away. There you can see Amelia van Overberger, unfortunately, not even getting going. That engine just grinding to a halt before he even crosses the start-finish line. But the front of the grid, Andrew, was all fine and clear.
Yeah, a little bit of running wide at the exit of turn 2 again. The track really gripped up across the course that race, but it was still quite greasy at the start of this one. This was the view on board Marcus Gloom from the inside of row number 4, and you can see this is another circuit where starting on that inside can have its advantages. Caronini on the outside on that run in, but it does flip back into the advantage of those on drivers left for turns 3 and 4. Another really good run from Marcus Gloom. Got up to 4th early on and stayed there for the rest of the race.
Certainly did, but again, still with this onboard view, you can see the battle that he had there with Danny Caronini, who certainly did have to fight back at that point, but yeah, all the way throughout this race was certainly an interesting one. This was impressing me throughout this. Yannis Boulier certainly not giving any quarter to Clement Outron, knowing that the fact that he's won all the qualifying heats so far, but Outron was very wise to these overtakes, immediately fighting back. But it was a really strong performance for them. There was the unfortunate retirement for Suleiman Zamfari. Looks to me like that may have been mechanical in nature as he's pulled it off the circuit, but yeah, not good at all, as well as Tess Verschoor also out of the race, and some drivers just really not having the weekend they would have wanted.
No, it's such a competitive field this weekend. I mean, it's always a competitive field in the IAME Euro Series, but you know, lots of support and representation from the host nation, from the Netherlands as well. We're not too far, of course, from that part of the world. So yeah, so it's a real tough run for some of them out there. This was Caronini coming back, recovered in the end to 5th place. So yeah, more good points and won out in this battle with Johan Verhaar out there. But for Caronini, especially with Finn McLaughlin being on the back foot, having had the poor qualifying yesterday that we'll talk about in more length later on, he's another driver who really needs to be getting top 3s consistently across the course of the heats. And that's, again, the results have been solid, but 6th, 2nd and 5th now means Caronini's got work to do for the rest of today.
Certainly does. Well, checker flag would go out, and it would go the way of Clement Outron. Bertram Sash getting up into P2 at the end of that one, back to his starting spot. So again, another good result for the Falcon Racing team. Yannis Boulier rounding out the top 3. Well, there, Andrew, you're seeing a look at the sky this morning. Beautiful blue sky. It's set to be a toasty 30 degrees today, but the humidity, I've got to say here, is extremely high, and the threat of rain is still very high later on in the day.
We're in Belgium.
The threat
of rain is always high.
It's a daily occurrence.
It's something I'm very used to being from Yorkshire. But yeah, no, it's as I say, it's going to keep the drivers on their toes throughout the course today. The weather, again, where we're sat in the comms box overlooking turn 13, 14 is coming from our left. Big rain shower came through yesterday that affected a few of the drivers' heats, and of course we saw the rain last night as well. Big thanks to the marshals and all the track workers out there working tirelessly. Without their dedication and support, we could not go racing best of the best here at Karting Genk, home of champions.
Indeed. Well, there's a look at the next race that is due to head out onto the circuit. Now, this is Groups B versus D that will be heading out next. And again, all the way throughout this, we've got drivers in this who've taken race wins, and 2 of those drivers are starting this one on the front row of the grid. But that man there, Heikki Kautonen, has taken 2 of them. He took a 5th in his first yesterday, but he has certainly proved himself, especially after putting it fastest in group in time qualifying, which we caught up with him after his session.
Here at the culmination of X30 Senior qualifying, Heikki Kautonen fastest in Group 4. That looked quite tough out there. Bit of a battle?
Yeah, a little battle in the start. I started in the middle a little bit, make my way as fast as I can to the front, and then make a good lap.
You're in good form here at Genk. You had a good result last week in preparations for this season finale for the IAME Euro Series. What's key for being quick around this circuit?
It's just I've been here for many years. I know the track really well, and yeah, it's not a really hard track for newcomers, so just drive. Yeah.
There could be a little bit of rain tomorrow, though. Is that going to spice things up, do you think?
Actually, I love the rain, so here in the rain is okay for me.
The team, how proud of you? How proud are you of the work that they've done so far this weekend?
Yeah, really much. They work really much for me. We test a few things yesterday and today also in the warm-up. They try everything with the data and stuff. They always find the right setup, so I'm really happy with the teamwork.
What would be a good result? What would you be happy with come the end of Sunday?
Last year I finished second, so now I'm going for the win.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Henki, great lap there, and we'll see you later on this weekend.
Thank you.
Great to catch up there with Henki Kalteren. Like you said, took a podium here last year in the last round of the IAME Euro Series in 2023. And looking to beat that. And you know what? I'm inclined to believe him.
He was on the podium here last weekend for the National and Regional Championship as well. So he's definitely in form. Here's your grid for the second race of the day. Andy Rattel and Henki Kalteren on row 1. Roxanne Lantinga, who has been very quick this weekend on row 2 alongside Clovis Nugred. Vilma Svan on great form, was on the podium last time out. Wackersdorf starts row 3 for this one alongside Meli Angelo, Natalia Granada and Lewis Mackey on row number 4. Aaron Garcia and Marlon Bayer due to go off from the 5th row of the grid. That is your top 10. George Nassar and Maxime Blanchemont start on row number 6. Joseph Smith and Milan Marchak start on row 7. And last of the rows in the first half of the grid, row 8, Hugo Besson and Noah Maton.
Rest of the field on row number 9 sees Louis Esser and Kyuho Lee from South Korea. Then you have Louis Tort and Carl Luthart on row 10, rounding out the top 20. Maximano da Silva and Fred Green going from row 11. Then you have Luke Taylor and Luca Muller on row 12. David Cosma and Freddie Housley round out row 13. Alessandro Biggie, who's chosen a new set of tyres on his left-hand side of his wagon, will have Hawk White for company. Hugo Bruin and Luca Manni go from row 15 to the top 30. Matti Vanderbroek and Sophia Sanfari round out the field of 32 carts. Well, again, clouds have come over. Wind's picked up a little bit, Andrew. Temperature is still rising, and, well, it's going to be an exciting day of racing nonetheless, but I think the drivers would prefer this. Cloud cover, temps up, track dry. I think this is still good for them.
It is still good for them. At the end of the previous race, the track was looking really, really quick. In warm-up this morning, we were in the 55s, the mid-55s. There were times dropping into almost qualifying pace in that last race. So, yeah, the drivers should be primed to enjoy this one. No championship contenders in this race, so nice and straightforward for us here in the box. We can concentrate fully on this race in itself. Andy Rattel, though, has been on great form so far this weekend, and we spoke to him yesterday after his qualifying. Big beaming smile on his face, really seems confident. He doesn't have the pressures of the championship or trying to win the championship on his shoulders, and I think, again, it's actually made him raise his game for this last round of the championship. Yeah,
certainly so. We've seen great things from him so far this weekend with a first, second and a third over the course of the qualifying heats. Lights go green. We are racing, though, for their third and fourth heat of the weekend, I should say. Down in towards turn number 1. Great start for the entire field. Great start from the inside row. Henki Kalteren gets airborne as he hits that curb. There's a bit of drama in the background, and there is damage, and there is carts out of this race. And unfortunately, that is Freddie Housley, and he's looking to go further, but I think he's broken. Carl Luthart, as well as another driver who we've just seen out of the race, and that is drama for a handful of drivers. There he is again on your screen, and, well, unfortunately, he will go no further, and he's not even got out of the car. He might be in a bit of bother there.
Yeah, that's the second time that we've seen Carl Luthart have problems on lap 1. He struggled had a spin in the rain yesterday in the second round of heats. It's, again, looking a bit tough for Carl Luthart to be going through to the Soup Heats tomorrow with the run of results that he's had so far. End of the first lap. Andy Rattel leads from Henki Kalteren by a tenth and a half. Well, not anymore, because Kalteren is right on the rear bumper of the 242 now. Keep an eye out for Clovis Nugred as well. The Frenchman there in the 349 is another driver who's had a really solid weekend so far. Doesn't have the pressures of championship permutations. 3 results already in the top 10, 3rd, 4th and the 10th. The 10th being in those wet conditions that we saw here at the circuit in the middle part of the day yesterday. Other movers on that first lap. Noah Maton's had a good start, up 3 spots to 13th. Kyo Lee has also improved into the top 15. Biggest move of anybody out there. A little bit further down the order, Hugo Brun up 6 spots to 23rd.
indeed. Well, eyes on this one here. Top 3 breakaway for Rattel, Countering and Clovis Nogueira. Roxanne Lantinga has impressed this weekend, Andrew. Currently sitting there in 4th place. And, well, has had 2 fourths, but then has dropped down a little bit in the second race. Caught out a penalty, finished P19 in the wet conditions. But has really impressed so far this weekend.
On single lap pace in a number of sessions. And, well, there you go, 56.113. Roxanne Lantinga's ability to get the tyres up to temperature and be on pace pretty quickly has been one of the best so far this weekend in X30 Senior. It was a bit of a surprise, I think, for some people in free practice on Thursday. Very unlucky not to finish P1 in her group in timed qualifying yesterday, and it is now starting to show that it's not just single lap pace, that is able to keep that 4.30 up there in the top 5.
Exactly, and not afraid to get stuck in at all. Still no change between those top 3. They remain the same, but the likes of Lantinga, Lewis Mackie as well closing in. Caught up with Mackie this morning, racing with the Eichmann's team this weekend, as Kalterin has really latched onto the back of Rattel here. I think maybe a little mistake there from Rattel through the first corner has put him under pressure here now, and Kalterin might have the chance of going for the move, potentially down in towards turn at number 7, but no, thinks against it. But back with Lewis Mackie, who's just at the fastest lap of the race. Yeah, running with the Eichmann's team this weekend. Dad Alistair's on the spanners for him. Now, usually Lewis is mechanicking for his younger brother, Harrison, who races in the junior category. Harrison, leader of the championship at the moment. And I suspect he's not going to race this weekend and is just going to sit the sidelines and watch it all unfold. But he's fine. Means that he's got a weekend off. And this is the first time that Lewis is racing since 2 years. He's had a 2-year break out of racing karts, and he's right there right now in P5.
And he's in the battle for the lead of the race. He's shown across the course of the weekend so far. He hasn't lost any of that spirit. Results so far this weekend for Mackie at 6th, 5th and 3rd. And that's a growing crescendo as well.
It is.
It's like, I think, the first race for any driver, your first race back after 2 years. Free practice, yeah, that's one thing to get yourself body-wise back into the groove. Time qualifying, again, the brain, making sure that you're setting your lap times in a right manner. Racing's another thing, and that is why we're seeing Lewis Mackie now improving through the order. The first race, there were a couple of welcomes back to the racing scene from the other competitors, shall we say, but Lewis is fully back in the groove now into turn 14 and then 15. Up to 4th place with that move past Clovis Nogueira. And again, a driver as a wild card, nothing to lose this weekend. He could be a bit of a dark horse as we go later on through the programme.
No, exactly. When I was speaking to him, I'd be like, what do you want to do this weekend? I'd be like, podium, all the way.
Yeah.
He said, well, I said to him, when was the last time you stood on a podium? About 15 years ago. No, but no, solid driver. Be curious to see what he can do. QO Lee, fastest lap of the race now, is also another driver who's making moves in this one. 4 places gained and is up into P13. Just further back in the field in the 2.64. It's 5 seconds off the race leader right now, so we're on lap 6 of 11. But again, all the way throughout this field, we've seen pace. We're seeing purple sectors coming in from drivers who are running around in like 23rd, 24th, all the way throughout the field. So again, it just shows that the pace is there. It's just this track is just, well, again, I've said it many times. I'm going to say it again. It's such a driver's circuit on this one. It's an old circuit. Like I say, it was founded in 1983. It was restarted in 2005. And people think, oh, 2005, that's not that long ago. In the grand scheme of things, ladies and gentlemen, that's nearly 20 years ago. So it's quite an old circuit.
Indeed. We're on to lap number 7. Lewis Mackie is the fastest driver out on circuit, 55.332, and has now set his sights on trying to find a way past Roxanne Lantinga there in 3rd. That is not going to be an easy task, though. Lantinga has just responded with a fastest first sector of anybody in this race. Through on this lap. Change for 11th place as well. Keogh Lee has got past Joseph Smith. Fred Green having a decent race. Anthony is up 6 spots and into the top 15 now. No Maton continuing that progress that we talked about at the very start of the race as well. Another one of the wild cards, the Belgian, up into the top 10. And Milan Marchak as well from the Netherlands for DFK Racing Team is just 1 place ahead. Those are all your big movers so far in this race. less than 4 laps to go.
Indeed. Eyes still focusing on this lead battle here. Calterin's dropped back a little bit right now. Rattel looking to claim his second win of the weekend. Took a win in his first race, but again, he's not breaking away as much as he'd like. Now, yesterday we did see immense races from some where they were able to break away, but right now in the dry conditions, it just shows the competitiveness of them. And we're seeing it again here. Lewis Mackie down the inside of Roxanne Lantinga and moves up into 3rd place. And again, he's matching his best result of yesterday. He's got time as well to close in on Calterin and Rattel. Could he be looking for his next best result of the weekend, which would be a P2?
Could well be in the remaining 3 laps. I think the good thing, just to go back to Andy Rattel, he got good results yesterday, but particularly in the second round and the 3rd round. The second half of the race, I think, would typify for Andy Rattel as like, make the kart as wide as possible. He was on the defensive. He held on to those positions, but it never looked like he was going to be in a scenario as there's a move there from the 218 of Meliangelo down the inside for 5th place. This one, yes, he's not breaking away, but it doesn't look like he's having to start thinking defensively. Calterin's still that 3.5 gap behind. Rattel's just able to take his lines, take his pace, and keep that gap there. So this has been a much better run, I think, overall, not just because he's in the lead of this race for Andy Rattel, but in terms of the psychology of this one. It's not having to be too defensive, and that will give him confidence for the remainder of the day.
Indeed. Well, Clovis Nogueira now at the back of this group of the top 6. Behind that sees Aaron Garcia and Natalia Granada. QO Lee's now got up into 9th place, has managed to get past Vilma Svan, the same as Maton and Marzak getting past. So they've all gained positions in that one. Back with this battle further behind. This is still Meli and Nogueira. And still close between these two, but not close enough right now to really worry the drivers in front. Mackie again, pushing himself forward. He's closed in a little bit on Calterin here, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and I reckon that top 3 could stay where they are for this race.
Yeah, they're looking comfortable for the remainder of this one. Just over 1 lap to go. We're on the penultimate tour of the circuit. A couple of changes further down the order. Lee and Maton confirmed through past Natalia Granada. This has been a better run for Natalia Granada. Good qualifying. This is what we want to see from Natalia Granada. This could be a first top 10 of the weekend. Certainly
so. I might eat my words there when I say that these top 3 might not change, because, well, Mackie really closed in on that last lap. You can see Calterin's dropped back massively from Rattel, so we could see defense throw, and Calterin's looking over every shoulder at every opportunity. And again, all he's going to do is just go backwards with that. Down the back straight again, another check over the shoulder for Calterin. Doesn't need to go defensive, but again, you can see the gap is just it's opening up so much between himself and Rattel. He's going to be on the full defensive here. This is where Mackie made the moves earlier on through turn 11. Not this time. Stays behind. Turn 12 is a hot spot, and is he going for it? The answer to that is no. Stays behind. But again, 14's also a hot spot, Andrew. And is he going to be close enough for this one? Well, Calterin goes defensive. We could see a switchback here from Mackie. I don't think it's going to be enough. Andy Rattel will take his second race. Photo finish for second. And, well, Calterin just holds on to it. Mackie, in his fight, will have to settle for 3rd place, but that still matches his best result that he's got of the weekend. Roxanne Lantinga matches her best results of the weekend as well. P4, another solid result for Lantinga. Angela Meli finishing in P5 ahead of Clovis Nogueira. Aaron Garcia finishing in P7 ahead of Kuho Lee. Noah Maton finishing in P9 ahead of Natalia Granada. From Joseph Smith and Fred Green, Vilma Svan from Milan Marzak. Hugo Besson rounds out the top 15. But there on your screen, Andy Rattel, 2 wins out of 4 now, with a 3rd and a 2nd. He's on his way, isn't he?
He's on his way and looking really good in the dry conditions. So he'll be a driver hoping that the skies stay nice and calm for the rest of the weekend. It's looking pretty good here in Belgium. There's your provisional results. Rattel from Calterin, Mackie, Lantinga, and Meli, your top 5. Nogueira, Garcia, Lee, Maton, and Granada score points for their top 10s. They'll be happy with those results. Joseph Smith, Fred Green, Vilma Svan, Milan Marchak, and Hugo Besson in the top half. Finishing outside the top 15, George Nassar, Maxime Blanchemont, Marlon Bayer, Louis Tourt, and Luca Moulard all in the top 20. Maxi da Silva, David Cosma Christopher, Luis Essa, Hugo Brunn, and Luke Taylor in the top 25 problems out there for Alessandro Bigi, Matty van der Berg, Luca Mann, Hort White, and Sophia Zanfari was the last of the 30 finishers. 2 retirements from that race, both of them on the first lap. They were Carl Lutar and Freddie Housley.
Indeed. Well, drivers making their way back to Parc Ferme. There is Andy Britell, and just having a word with his team. But like you say, I can imagine we'll be happy with that, but not too happy knowing that the fact that the grid was so close behind still.
I think, yeah, he'll be happier than he was probably at the end of yesterday. It's a step in the right direction. And again, we've got to consider that there's tyres to be taken care of across the course of the season. You can win by too much in one of these heats if you take too much out of them. Here are your highlights. Here's the start of that one. Rattel on the inside. It's impressed that Kalterman was able to hold himself up the high reaches of the order. He got a little bit close in the middle. You'll see Carl Lutard there in the middle. The Sky Blue and Black Falcon being out of the race. Freddie Housley with nowhere to go there. That was the end of Housley's race. Damage on the front right, it would seem. Those were only the 2 only retirements in that race. Here's another view of it. Lutard going around, and poor Freddie Housley.
Drove over him.
Couldn't have done anything about that.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a little bit painful for Lutard, but I could see he was walking back to the paddock after the race, so good to see nonetheless. Right, race continuing at that point, and again we saw some shaky moments for some drivers just tumbling down the order a little bit. That was Marlon Bayer getting caught out on that inside curb and just having to send it backwards. This was the drive from Lewis Mackey, who, like I say, has been out of a kart for 2 years, has been spannering for in that time for his younger brother, and now just showing that he's not lost it in those 2 years, because racing, it's a perishable skill if you don't do it enough, isn't it?
And it's always that last percent that makes such a difference in terms of racecraft. So yeah, really good run there for Lewis Mackey. The next time we'll see both of these groups, Group B will be back out at 12:05 local time. For Group D, they will be sitting out the next round, so a little bit longer for them before we see them back out on circuit. More racing coming up here in Genk, Group E and F shortly after this little ad break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the IAME Euro Series 2024, live here from Belgium at the home of champions at karting Genk. Next race is coming up very soon, qualifying heat E versus F. They'll be heading out onto the circuit. And on pole position for this one, Andrew, Mattis Michaut, who's a driver who has impressed over the course of this weekend. The same as Mark LaPiccolo, who's had a fabulous qualifying, and they lock out the front row in this one.
Yeah, really good to see Mark LaPiccolo make that breakthrough in qualifying, and yeah, have this opportunity to start once again from the front row of the grid. But Mattis Michaut, I think, is the very definition of a dark horse this weekend. You know, on home soil, knows the circuit very well. KCR Racing know this circuit very well also, and for him so far this weekend, second, fifth, and then a win yesterday in the 3 heats that we saw Meerschaert, so has already got a good score. But I'd keep an eye on Cian Geraghty in this race as well, Anthony, because he's had 2 wins already this weekend, very nearly made it 3 in that battle with Matthias Meerschaert yesterday in the 3rd round of heats, and is on a rich reign of form, especially coming from his national racing. Cian Geraghty will start on the 2nd row of the grid. We'll also have Ruben Moya for company in this one. Let's take you through the grid then for qualifying heat E versus F in X30 Senior.
Matthias Meerschaert and Mark Lepiccolo, as we mentioned, starting on row number 1. Cian Geraghty, 2 wins out of 3 yesterday. What can he do today? He'll have Ruben Moya for company on the 2nd row. Julian Kamen, who took a retirement in his 3rd heat, finishing P29, starts on row 3. He'll have Gustav Freneski for company. David Dragan and Benjamin Irmina are going from row number 4. Remo Bronk and Adam Ferrazano go from row 5. They'll have Hamza Alfayez and Alessandro Teresca on row 6. Louis Camar and Hugo Gelay go from row 7. Of Romeo Rossell and Luca Montebello on row number 8.
Ellie Goldstein and Otto Pukkanen form up a heavyweights row 9. Alexi Constant and Finn McLaughlin start on row 10. Plenty of work to do for the championship leader. Andrea Pirovano and Jarno Visa start on row 11. They're ahead of Emmanuel Luyadakis and Eric Vress on row 12. Florent Dearda has gone for a new set of tyres in this race, according to the information given to us here in the box. Starts on row 13, is joined by Juan Aluja. Luna Claret and Marcel Matijevic starts on the 14th row of the grid. Wesley de Goy and Victor Ajater start on row 15. 32 karts in the field. Watch out for both Robbie Buckley and Kevin Lantinga trying to move through from row 16.
Indeed, this is going to be a busy race in this one, but again, we're expecting to see good things here as the weather is still absolutely fine. I think the temperature is again increasing, 21 degrees still at the moment, so all is well for the field right now. But like I say, we are expecting it to go up a little bit more as the day progresses. But Andrew, we've seen great results from these drivers in this grid. We've got 3 strong drivers at the front of this one. We've got the likes of Moya, Geraghty and Matthias Meerschaert, who have all taken race wins. That's no disadvantage and no disrespect to Mark Lepiccolo. Again, all very quick, but they've just not had the results that they've wanted. But my eyes are still focused on Finn McLaughlin on this one. That qualifying did not go his way at all. But again, I think just needs to dig deep because he has got that championship fight on his hands here. Yes, okay, drop scores can be implemented on this one, but I think he's already got scores that he wants to drop, and he needs a good result in this one, especially with how close Carinini and that lot are.
Yeah, he does. It's almost a bit of a repeat of what he had at Zuera, where he was 9th in the final intermediate classification and picked up a couple of points. He would be hoping that that would be his drop score, but he may need to rely on it. The positive from that experience, though, is when he had that bad qualifying in round 1, he continued to build and build and build through the weekend and still in the final finished in the top 5. So it's not out of the equation that Finn McLaughlin could score points this weekend, but he's got to keep working hard. Into the tram lines. Are we good for racing? Yes, we are. Away we go for 11 laps in X30 Senior. Very good start for those on the inside. Meerschaert leads through turn 1. Geraghty follows through. It's all getting a bit rough and tumble in the second half of the grid as it tightens off of turn 2. But it's a good one. All 32 drivers through the first sector there or thereabouts. Meerschaert and Geraghty resume battle as they did yesterday. Currently it's 2 heat wins to Geraghty, 1 heat win to Meerschaert, and they've already started to break away. I think with that Julian Carmen following them with a bit of company to say. It was a very good start for those on the inside. No, Julian Carmen's fallen down to 4th place. It's the 2:48 that's potentially come through here, 2:49 rather. So yeah, really good start for Reimer Blanc once again. We saw from Blanc 4th, 8th and 11th in the race finishes yesterday, and this is a good opportunity for this top 3 to break away front of the field and book themselves some more good points as Geraghty goes down the inside. Not the first time, Anthony Jordan, we've seen that move from Geraghty this weekend.
Oh, not at all. And not the first time we've seen a move there at turn number 2 throughout this weekend. And I guarantee we're going to expect to see a lot more. Now that puts in a little bit of work for the two KCR Racing drivers just behind. The two teammates communicating with each other and saying, right, OK, let's do this. Meerschout and Blanc, who are really going to put the pressure on Geraghty only if they don't allow him to break away. But right now, we're not seeing that. But again, we could see a change between these two. Moya sitting there in P4 has an opportunity right now to close in. He's got the clean air in front. He's got Julian Cameron just behind as well. But he's piling on that pressure all the way throughout. Hamza Al-Fayez has impressed me so far this weekend, Andrew. 4 places gained, and he's in that top 10.
Yeah, continuously moving forward is the driver for Victory Lane Racing. Big lap there just went in from Ruben Moya. Saw him having a little bit of an adjustment on his equipment on the back straight between 6 and 7. It seems to have worked to 55.980 last time around. So this top 3 have got to find some pace. Otherwise, one of the championship contenders is potentially going to close in on them here. Finn McLaughlin, watch. How's he getting on? He's up 6 places so far in this race. Make that 5. He's just lost one of those to Alessandro Tedesca. So McLaughlin in the top 15 right now. Realistically, needs to find his way back into the top 10 to make sure that he's holding in. I think his aim at the end of today will be in that top 30, be solidly in the final, not have to do too much in the super heats later on tomorrow. And then play the long game to potentially score some points in damage limitation mode on Sunday. So that's how the championship leader is getting on. Geraghty, though, looking calm and composed once again here, Anthony. Not getting too defensive, but Moya is closing in.
He certainly is. And I was looking at the sector times while you were talking then, and Moya was doing his slowest sectors in sector 1 and 2 that he did so far this race. They were yellow. And the drivers in front, the top 3 of Geraghty, Meerschout and Blanc, they were all green. They were all personal bests. And Rubens was still faster, even though they were his slowest. So he was catching, even though he was going slower than what he did so far in this race. And there you can see it now. It's a group of 4. But again, if Moya starts to attack, but Blanc's going to attack first, that's brought Moya straight into it. Moya's got to go for a move here down into turn 1. He'd be silly not to. He needs to take advantage of it because Meerschout's going to go for it. Is Moya going to go? No, he is going to stay behind. The gap just wasn't there. He'll have to wait, though, for turn number 3, and that's where he gets it. Nice driving. Yeah,
not seen too many moves so far this weekend into turn 3, but that was beautifully done by Ruben Moya. Got to keep an eye on Julien Carmen as well there in the 2.93. Julien Carmen coming into the equation, needs to recover after a difficult 3rd race yesterday. For the Dutchman was P29 in the classification of that one. Saw a technical flag out there, and it's already been observed. Gustav Wisniewski, the Polish driver who started on the 3rd row of this race, is unfortunately out. Has been called into the pits by the race officials for a mechanical issue. End of lap number 5. Geraghty leads, seemingly in control right now, but the gap is only 1/4 of a second ahead of Reimer Blanc, and we've already seen Reimer Blanc not be afraid of going for a move in this race, and he's going to be conscious that Ruben Moya is still there in 3rd place, not too far behind. Ruben Moya, we were discussing it yesterday here at on the circuit comms, Anthony. I think the strategy for Moya this weekend is quite simple. Attack, attack, attack. He's one of the lower drivers. We're having a look here at an incident. Now that is the 2.28 of Luca Montebello going for a bit of a ride. Gets back into the race, but is now down in 26th place.
Easily done there down towards turn 7. You've got 160 metres straight. You get the slipstream, you get the toe, you look for the inside line, and then all of a sudden the driver in front of you also looks to the inside line, and then you're in his rear bumper. So very easily done. Eyes on this lead battle here. Geraghty still leading, but that gap 0.2 of a second. Blanc is there and closing in. Moya as well was just pulling out of the toe there to look down the inside. Not able to do anything about it. Julian Cameron is closed in right now, and so has Mark Lepiccolo back from the front row of the grid. And again, Mark Lepiccolo yesterday, P4 with his best result. then had a 22nd place in his second heat, and not the result he would have wanted. And again, he sees himself at the back of there, and these are still fighting and scrapping away, but yet he's not latched onto the back of them right yet.
He hasn't, but I think the aim for Mark Lepiccolo this weekend is make the final. He hasn't achieved that so far this season, so a nice consistent run would be beautiful as down the inside goes Reimer Blanc. Takes the lead in front of the grandstand. The fans here in Belgium will have liked that, and Moya's got through past Geraghty as well. Really good reading of the road there from Ruben Moya. And Moya, who's had a win already this weekend and a second place, is going to be on the prowl now, on board with Julian Cameron on your screens. Down into turn 2. Started 5th, is still in 5th. Moya's had a little look into turn 3. Once again with Group E, we've got a real battle on here. 4 laps to go.
We certainly do. Down through turn number 6, onto the 160-metre back straight. The toe kicks in, they tuck in. As does anyone look to the inside line here? No, they all stay line astern. Again, avoiding those flip-flops on the apex of turn number 8, as there's no time to rest at all here, as now you're coming towards turn 11. Key overtaking opportunity here, same as turn 12, but no one's close to it right now. Kamen's closest for it behind Meerschout, but Meerschout defending it right now. Blanc's leading the way from Ruben Moya as we're ending lap number 8. We'll be going on to lap 9 now, out of the final corner, and look at Reimer Blanc go right here. 9 places gained. Well, Julian Cameron coming up on our lead, but no, that's I think a timing glitch at the moment. It's still at the moment Reimer Blanc who is leading the way. Geraghty there in, well, now P5. In fact, I'm not sure
P4,
where he is.
yeah.
P4 he is at the moment. Moya, though, however, takes the lead. Ruben Moya now through turn number 6, holds on to it, takes a defensive line immediately there. That's going to bunch everyone up right now. Look at this. This is one big group of karts now all fighting for the race lead.
They are indeed. Moya's going to hope that the drivers behind get a little bit impatient and break the pack apart with a bit of battling, a bit of infighting, because it's a risky game, this. Moya's controlling it, has got first place, but if he gets off the racing line, especially with the circuit still a little bit green, he could find himself down in 6th place very, very easily. 2 laps to go as we hit the end of lap number 9. Is there going to be a response from Reimer Blanc? Is down the inside. Carmen's looking for a move past Geraghty and has made it work. So Geraghty down into 5th place now. This would not be the best result of the weekend so far for Cian Geraghty. As Moya again, defensive. Blanc looking to the outside. Meerschout's now on the inside. Good run off the corner from Blanc, but Moya's got it covered. He's going to try and defend this one all the way to the checkered flag, it would seem. Let's have a look on board live with Julian Cameron. This is the view from 4th place. Matthias Meerschout still there in 3rd. This is all championship in the mind of Ruben Moya now, because this win could, you never know, make the difference come the end of Sunday in terms of those points.
It certainly could be. Out of the final corner again. Last lap board will be out for the lead drivers here, but Moya at the moment still controlling it. Is he going to go defensive in towards turn 1? The answer to that is no. We saw there in the background Geraghty going defensive from Mark Lepiccolo, but they have stayed in position right now as they try to hold on to this lead group. Still with the live on board on the left-hand side of your screen. With Julian Cameron, who's got a great view of this battle and waiting to pick up the pieces. Side by side for the 2 teammates. Now it's wheel to wheel here. Cameron's going to look to the inside. He's going to get the move done, and he is going to move up into P3. Moya has backed them all up into each other, and right now Reimer Blanc is probably screaming underneath that helmet of going, I need to get past here to take the win of this heat. I mean, you've got to think it. Reimer Blanc, who's not taken a win so far this weekend, is looking for a first one here, but with only one more corner to go, I don't think it's going to be enough. Moya's going to hug that inside line. Blanc's going to have to follow it. It will be a photo finish, but now it's going to be 3 wide here, and is Julian Cameron going to come through? The answer is yes, but not for a win. Moya will take the win. Julian Cameron crosses the line, P2. Incredible race.
Lots of racing to go yet this weekend, but that could be a really key moment in the weekend and the championship bid of Ruben Moya. His 2nd race win of the weekend. It leaves him in 2nd place in the intermediate classification at the end of round 4. Only Clement Outron ahead of him, and well, That is going to put Ruben Moyer in a very, very strong position. There was also a little bit of news. You saw Finn McLaughlin with his hand up there at the end of that race. He had gained 10 positions back into the top 10, but warning flag on the last lap for the 204. So that is not good news at all for Finn McLaughlin. He's going to drop down the order by quite a way, potentially.
And that's the risk, isn't it? You know, when you have those bad qualifyings and you've got to fight your way through the field, you risk having battles with other people, you know, nose cone penalties coming into play and all of that. So it is a challenge. Here's a look then at your full results at the end of that one. Ruben Moyer from Julian Cameron, Raymer Blanc from Mattis Merschouts. Kian Geraghty finishing in P5 ahead of Mark Lepiccolo. Louis Camin finishing in P7 after gaining 6 places. Ellie Goldstein back on the scene. A top 10 finish, 9 places gained to finish in P8 ahead of Hamza Al-Fayez in 9th place. Finn McLaughlin, like you were saying, P10 finish on the road, 10 places gained, but that warning flag will drop him down the order. Alexis Constant finishing in P11 ahead of Alessandro Tedesco. Otto Pukkanen finishing in P13 ahead of David Dragan. Benjamin Borgirana finishing in P15 ahead of Jona Luja, who gained 10 places in that one in P16. Kevin Lantinga, 14 places gained. Lantinga's been impressing over the course of this weekend, Andrew, and another 14-place gain in that certainly is another a thumbs up for him, I think.
Yeah, he's racing in a manner that I think will see him through into the latter races. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from that last race in this round of heats for X30 Senior. Very good start for those on the inside. You saw there Geraghty immediately up to 2nd place and Mark Lepiccolo on the outside of all of that. This was the view from that start, from the inside of row number 3. And again, just shows how difficult it can be starting on the outside.
Again, because then you get cut out onto that massive runoff curb there as well. And I think at the start of the race, I think they're a little bit lenient on that. But certainly when it comes to the racing, no, they won't be too lenient. That was the first lead change there. Kian Geraghty going for the move down the inside. It put the 2 KCR teammate drivers of Blanc and Merschouts next to each other. Then Blanc going for the move, getting past Merschouts. That brought Moyer into play. And Moyer, I think, timed that race perfectly, just getting the overtake after overtake after overtake and just pushing himself up to that P1 spot. Yeah,
again, the racing brain has been absolutely spot on from Moyer so far this weekend. That was the moment for Luca Montebello going through the chicane. This was the move from Blanc down the inside of Geraghty to give Blanc the lead. This was a brilliant one from Moyer, knowing that Geraghty was going to be compromised off of 13, round the outside before they got to the braking zone of 14. And then this was a mega move, sending it down the inside into turn number 6. It would be the key move for Ruben Moyer, who would control it over the last 3 laps. No opportunity for Blanc and the others to wrestle the lead away. This was coming down the inside of Geraghty for P4. And as I say, Ruben Moyer, in terms of his point situation, realistically, if he's going to be IAME Euro Series winner in X30 Senior at the end of this season, he needs to get a full complement of points by being top of the final intermediate classification and winning the final. And right now, he's not on course for it, but he's putting himself in the mix with these kind of results.
Yeah, it certainly is. That was the photo finish across the line for Julian Cameron, who just managed to pip 2nd place, and there you can see it across the line. He thought he was going to go for a win on that one, and I can think from the onboard view that you could see there, he tried to get the full switch back on both of them. Unfortunately, when he got the power down, Moyer hadn't, and the track was blocked. He couldn't go further to the inside. He couldn't switch to the outside. So again, if he had that momentum and he had the gap, I reckon he could have won that one. But a very good result nonetheless for Moyer, Cameron, and Raymer Blanc finishing 1, 2, 3, all gaining positions in that one. Right, we're going to take a break from senior racing, and we're going to turn our attention now to the juniors for the first time this weekend. Now, they had all their qualifying sessions yesterday for the Junior X30 category, and the biggest story in this one, we can't ignore it. Championship leader at the moment, Harrison Mackie, is here at the circuit, but he is not racing. And there is a reason for that. When you include drop scores at the end of it, he's won the championship, and they've team have told him to step back. But nonetheless, the racing is still on, and the championship fight is still on for drivers behind. And for this young man here, Evan Purcell, who's not in the championship fight, but certainly in a fight to good results here. We caught up with him after time qualifying when he pulled it.
Well, a drama-filled afternoon here in X30 Junior here with our fastest driver in Group 2 and overall in category, Evan Purcell. Evan, what a lap, what a moment there to emerge P1. Did it right at the end. How are you feeling?
Very good. Not usually fast in the wet. I'm always usually slow, but I'm very happy.
What did you discuss with the team beforehand? You knew that the track was potentially going to be getting quicker through that?
Well, before I went out, I asked my mechanic what lines did I take, and I said I gambled it and just went for the wide lines, and I just says I'll drive it as hard as I can. I give it my best, so yeah.
And getting that extra lap in, it's been crucial for a couple of drivers today, but for you, arguably most of all.
I know, it was very good to get the extra lap in. If I didn't, maybe I wouldn't have went pole, but I'm very happy with what I've done, so yeah.
Does this change your mindset for the races? What do you do next?
Try and win. I'm going to go and win.
And this circuit as a whole, you know, you've had that experience now in both the dry and the wet conditions. Do you feel that's actually giving you a bit of an advantage across the course of the weekend?
Definitely. In the winter time, I usually practice slicks in the wet, and it makes such a big difference. Just learns you to get the grip into the kart in the wet.
Well, good stuff. Evan, we'll let you go to celebrate with the team. Brilliant result. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you.
Excellent stuff there for Evan Purcell, and like you say, starts this one on pole position. Let's go through that full lineup. Quintin van der Weylen starting alongside Matteo Mellis and Zach Green on row number 2. Federico Suardelati starts from row 3. They'll have Jos Mulder for company. Arthur Didonka and Ben Smith go from row 4. Jakob Bachler and Felipe Rice round out row 5 with Benjamin Magnac and Arthur Huang on row 6.
Row 7, Frieden Papaphilippou and Senna Mounier. Leonidas Peruzzi and Gabriel Benicki start on row 8. Sam Woolley and Rock Pinheiro go from row 9. Carolina Redondo and Sarah Effort starts on row 10. Ji Xiao Chen and Demir Abali starts on row 11. Ben Gertz and Noah Nolken starts on an all-German row 12. Harrison Mackie will not take the starts in this race. There'll be 25 drivers on the grid, completed by Janis van den Bosch. The reason why Harrison Mackie is not taking the start is essentially the score that he's already guaranteed from the 3 rounds of racing that we've seen so far in 2024 cannot be beaten or surpassed by a maximum scoring other driver in the category. The only 2 drivers who can match his score are Tig Buckley and Zach Green. But the key bit are the final victories. Mackie's had 2 already this season. Buckley and Green have had 0. So even if they won the final, even if they finished top of the FIC after the superheats tomorrow, yes, they'd be able to tie with Mackie, but they wouldn't beat him on a tiebreaker. The other crucial piece of information is a disqualification cannot be dropped. So that's what Mackie is avoiding by sitting these races out. You can't get disqualified from a race you've not raced in, and that means that Mackie is going to be your champion at the end of the season. We would have loved to have seen him race,
yeah,
but fully understand the decision. And yeah, it's been a brilliant season for Mackie.
Yeah, I spoke to him this morning and he said, yeah, I'm pretty gutted. But yeah, there we go. It is what it is. Are we going to be racing for the first time today? Yes, we are. We are green and racing. Great start from Purcell, who holds on to the lead, sweeps across the front of Quintin van der Weylen and pushes him down to where? P3, maybe even P4 now, as round the outside goes for Delati, trying to get that position gained. Drivers getting swept out wide there. There's been a lot of marbles down on the circuit. It's going very slowly there at the back of the field. It's gone wrong for Gabriel Bacchini, who's unfortunately going backwards in the field. But again, the rest of the field is all looking good. But the battle at the front here is heating up, Andrew.
It really, really is indeed. The juniors have been patient. Watching all of the racing yesterday from the seniors. Now they get their turners. Oh, down the inside. Purcell tries to fight it around the outside there with Matteo Mellis. They hold position first and second, but Mellis, I think he's going to have another go here into turn 14. Look at that move down the inside from Quintin van Leeuwen. Takes second place once again. It should be noted, Quintin van Leeuwen was in the first group yesterday. His Green's now down the inside for second place and has got it. Van Leeuwen now finds himself down in 4th place as Just Mulder there in the green and black helmet has come through for victory lane. Well, this is quite a start in X30 Junior straight away. Is that Jacob Bachler coming through the field? Yes, it is. Jacob Bachler on the move. up to 5th place here. Another driver had a decent qualifying in those tricky, wet to drying conditions yesterday. This is a real mix-up of the pack. There's problems further down the order for Ji Chao Chen and also for Federico Spadolati. They're both down the order, 24th and 25th. But my oh my, this has been a really pulsating start from X30 Junior.
It certainly has, but now it seems to have simmered down just that little bit at the front as Purcell gets into a rhythm at the front of this grid. But Just Mulder, like we're saying, with that start, look at him go. He's latched onto the back here. It's all kicking off in the background. There's Ben Smith going with wheel-to-wheel with Bakler just ahead. Benjamin Manak just behind us. Through goes there. Senamunir on Leonidas Peruzzi, who's trying to hold on to his position. And Senamunir at the moment, fastest driver out on track. Change at the front, though. It is Mulder at the front now. Purcell's down to second, and Zach Green has closed in for company. Once again, Andrew, it's all heating up at the front.
It is indeed, and for Zach Green, could be a big weekend for the Green family and Jamie Green Racing as a team. We'll talk more about them when we get into X30 Mini, as well as down the inside goes Zach Green. Beautiful move into second place. Evan Purcell didn't fight that too hard once he knew that Green was going to be hitting the apex perfectly there. Holds on to third. Matteo Mellis is having a go once again in fourth, and it's been a good few laps as well for Arthur Dodonka as well. Dodonka currently the fastest driver out on circuit at 56.148 as Mellis goes down the inside for third place on Purcell. Purcell's going to be out wide here. Dodonka may have an opportunity to get fourth, but no, has to slip back into position. Purcell, good speed down the straight there into turn 7, holds on to fourth.
Yep, certainly does, but not for much longer. Down the inside, nicely done there from Dodonka, and moves up into P4 now. Purcell, who is on that charge, back to the front. Can he get there? It's going to be a long way to go, but right now he's just putting himself in position. Just Mulder leads the way. Zach Green from Mellis, Dodonka from Purcell. Maniac still there in P6 from Ben Smith. Bakler in P8. Munir's up into 9th place. Van Leeuwen is now inside the top 10. Has not had the starting we wanted from the front row.
No, it's not in what Van Leeuwen would have expected. As I say, he was in Group 1 yesterday, so he didn't get the fastest time across the category, but it was the gap. It was the gap that he had over the other drivers in his group that was really impressive yesterday in those wet conditions. But things to think about here in the dry. We're into the second half of this one now. And for Just Mulder, he's starting to edge that gap away. It's 0.3 of a second ahead of Zach Green. This is the fight for third place on your screens. Going into turn 14 now. Mellis holding ahead of Dodonka, and Purcell still there in 5th place. He's dug deep in the middle part of this race after losing the lead. Back with the leaders, Mulder and Green. Ooh. Green closing in as Dodonka's down the inside and has got third place off of Mellis.
Yeah, he has indeed, and that's brought in the likes of Purcell back into this fray. But they'll have to really dig deep here, and he is going to dig deep down the inside and moves up a position now, getting past Mellis. Moves up back into P4, and they're not far off the race leaders right now. They're only a few moments down, as unfortunately Spadolati has retired. We were talking about he had dropped down from the front of the field, and unfortunately the driver who started on the 5th spot of the grid on row 3 now is out of his first race of the weekend.
Yeah, not the start that the Italian would have wanted. 2 laps to go then. Just Mulder looking for victories. Maniac down the inside, the winner from round 1, that fantastic finish, that classic in Zuera, is up to 5th place now. It's Green starting to put a bit more pressure now on Just Mulder. The gap is down to less than 0.2 of a second. But say, they've got to keep an eye on Arthur Dodonka there in 3rd place. Dodonka has just done a new fastest lap of the race, 55.777. This one is not done yet. There's not many heats for the junior category, just the 3 of them across the course of today. Does mean that if you make a mistake, if you lose one of these positions at the front of the order, it's not like in seniors where you've got more heats to claw that loss back. So for Zach Green, second place might be just a sensible thing to stick with this one and not risk too much at this stage. Oh, it's out. Is that Senna Mounier? No, it's Leonidas Peruzzi and the number 54, Quentin van Leeuwen. So van Leeuwen has really not gone well for him at all as Green's gone for the lead. And he's got the lead. Well, he doesn't want to stay there in second place at all. Has found his way through. I think that was through turn 14 and 15. But De Donker's now part of this battle with 1 lap to go.
Certainly is. They are on this final lap, and that was well timed. De Donker goes fastest now as he tries to hold on. Now, Jos Mulder has stuck his hand up there. I don't know who was communicating with.
Yellows.
This was, yes, it is the yellow flags, of course. But there was the move in towards turn 14. Again, beautifully timed. Just had that inside line, and that's what we're saying. It's a keen overtaking opportunity. It's easily to get it done, but you've got to defend it. Back with the live feed on the left-hand side. Green's gone. Green has gone. Jos Mulder has become a rolling roadblock right now as he tries to defend from that massive pack behind. Down the inside becomes Evan Purcell. He tries to get back. He runs out wide. Now the likes of Benjamin Maniac tries to fight through. The checker flag's gone out. Maniac went off the circuit. So what on earth happened to him as he was fighting right there in that lead group? Green takes the checker flag ahead of Jos Mulder. De Donker finishes in third from Melis and Purcell. But what on earth happened there to Benjamin Maniac? He went down to 13th.
Yeah, real shame for Benjamin Maniac that doesn't get the points then. That's what we were talking about with, you know, if it's a bit too close at the end of these races, you can lose out big time. And in the end, P13 for the number 55. But Zach Green, that is a really impressive victory. You know, it's a good return, good chance into turn 14 because he can block it on the inside. He got his braking absolutely spot on and finished the race very strongly indeed. And Zach Green, who was on the podium, of course, last time at Wackersdorf, continuing the form that we saw in round 3. He wins in the end by 1.7 seconds.
Absolutely superb. There is a look at your full classifications at the end of that one. Provisional, of course, Zach Green, Jos Mulder, De Donker, Melis, Purcell, Bachler, Smith, Senna Mounier finishing in P8 after getting 6 places. Felipe Rice finishing ahead of Faden Papaphilippou in 10th place. Sam Woolley from Rock Pineda. Benjamin Maniac, like we were saying, finishing in 13th place ahead of Carolina Redondo. Sarah Ifert from Gabriel Benecki finishing in P16. Ben Goetz from Arthur Huang. Yanis van der Bosch finishing in P19. 7 places gained ahead of Demir Abele finishing in 20th place. Noah Nolkin finishing in 21st. And then the retirements, Quentin van Leeuwen, Leonidas Peruzzi, Xi Xiaozhen retiring into the pit lane later in the race. And, of course, Federico Spadolati not finishing the race. But there on your screen, Zach Green, superb result from him. He can be delighted with those 3 places gained.
Yeah, really showing that the form that he had in Wackersdorf is continuing, and the only driver that beat him in the final at Wackersdorf is the one who's not racing. So, yeah, Green looking like an early pace setter in X30 Junior here this weekend. There is the site of Leonidas Peruzzi and Quentin van Leeuwen waiting for their ride back to the paddock. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from that first heat of the weekend in X30 Junior.
Great start initially there from Evan Purcell. You can see him sweeping over to the outside, covering off any attack from Quentin van Leeuwen. But then, yeah, just later on to the race, just started to just lose one and then another one, then another one, and it's never a nice feeling. It's such a disheartening feeling. But the start of it was absolutely fine. This was the first overtake, and you can just see there down the inside. And again, that move there, knowing that, okay, the grid's still behind, they're matching my pace, what do I need to do now? And then you go into a defensive mindset, and that's what sends you backwards.
It does, but I think the key for Purcell there was holding himself in the top 5. That's,
yes.
You know, he'll have more opportunities to race at the front of the order. He's already got a good return on his investments of being on the front row.
Yes.
So you know, it means that, yes, the pressure will still be on, but it's not one of those cases where, you know, for Van Leeuwen as an example, he's next time on the front row of the grid, he's got to score well.
Exactly. A driver who I think has scored well there, Jos Mulder, 4 places gained. You can see him push his way through the field. The same there as just behind as well, and you were seeing the recovering driver there, Matteo Mellis, trying to get back up into his original starting spot. This is Zach Green getting through now into second place, and the drive here from Green, really impressive to be able to close that gap as well. And with no assistance from anyone behind, because they were scrapping amongst themselves.
They were. I think that the thing that impressed me with Zach Green there, that was a very junior race. It was quite frantic, but Zach's driving was very calm, very collected. And, you know, he got himself up to the front later on in the race. He took his time with it, whilst others were scrapping around him. This was the fight for third place between Dodonka, Mellis, and Purcell. Benjamin Magnac, you can see there in the red and white. Bourlet RT would come into the equation. That's a lovely move from Magnac down the inside for 5th place at the end of the 6th lap. There at turn 7 would be the end of the race for Peruzzi and Van Leeuwen. Van Leeuwen, as I say, will have more opportunities to race from the front in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, but now with a P22 on the record, will need a good result, because there will be a cut-off, of course, for getting through to that final.
And those karts were stuck to each other, weren't they? They were not going to get that one apart easily. So Marshall's quickly on the scene to try and assist the drivers. There was that change for the lead, just down the inside, well-timed, not waiting around whatsoever. And again, turn 14, right in front of the pit exit. And I can tell you right now that a lot of the drivers in the next race all stand at that pit exit and watch the overtake. Right, now what happened to Benjamin Magnac at the start of this one? He's got the inside line. It just cut away there from us, but hopefully we can see it from this angle. As they come through here, this is a little earlier on at that point. This was all that battle. So Jus Mulder is at the front of this, and he's defended all of this position. Dodonka's still there. Magnac's in the middle right now. He gets the switchback. He goes wheel to wheel with Purcell. He goes wheel to wheel.
Oh, he catches the curb.
He catches the curb. Yep, that's all that was. So that from that angle, catches that curb, and it just rotates him. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really, really unfortunate moment there for Magnac. There you see it again. It's disappearing off to drivers right. And that's the thing, there's been so much rain here in the last 24 hours. You know, when you've been running in the dry and you catch one of those curbs, that was a move we were probably seeing earlier on in the day that simply doesn't work now. It's too damp on the inside. So Benjamin Magnac will be staying well clear of that curve, I think, for the rest of the day. And he can still recover. He's got some good race pace this weekend.
He certainly has. Well, in 3 minutes' time, the next junior qualifying heat, Group C and D, will be coming up next at 11:05. Then we go to the minis, and then we cut back to the seniors before we then go for the hour lunch break. And then after that, we've got 14 back-to-back races that will settle the junior, mini and senior grid for the superheats, and who goes to the repechage and who could potentially go home, because some drivers might not even make a repechage. But certainly all the way throughout this one, we are looking forward to today's racing. We are going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the second junior race in a few moments' time.
It makes life a lot easier out the track, so you don't have to worry about school and on-track performance and grades and all that sort of stuff.
The school understands exactly what I'm doing. They understand, how important it is for me, and the schedule that they, created for me is really well balanced, and I really enjoy it.
It's a very fine balance between his sporting career and also his studies. He doesn't have to compromise on either. I'm very happy that Meneva has supported us through this journey.
The communication is great, and I'm enjoying it. I think MVA would help a lot of other races. A lot of people come into the track and asking about it. What do you do for homeschool? Like, how does it work? And I always say, Minerva, you need to contact them and get going with them, because it's made my life so much easier.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Second junior race is upon us in a few moments' time, and it'll be Group C versus D coming up next for the 8-lap race. All the way throughout this one so far, Andrew, we've seen some brilliant senior races, and the first junior race so far has been, I think, an exciting one. We've seen those fantastic overtakes. We've seen drivers coming through the field. Could we see a similar story in this one?
It was eye-widening. It was one of those, after we've had, all of that senior racing, and it has been exciting. But yeah, just the spirit of junior racing It was very exciting to see, and yeah, no reason to believe that this one's going to be any different. Very intrigued to see how Dan Alleman gets on this weekend. Anthony has had a tremendous 2024 racing season, isn't part of the championship battle, and ran very, very strongly in timed qualifying yesterday in the wet conditions, and it's his wet weather driving that he really seems like he's gone on top of.
No, exactly that. But he'll focus throughout this one, and he gets the last few words of encouragement from his mechanic just behind him before they send him on his way. Of course, Dan Alleman, part of the Spirit Racing team, and has been very committed with the Spirit Racing team. He's been with that team for many years now in his young racing career, and they're helping him. They're really backing him and really pushing himself forward, because they've mainly focused in the world of cadet racing, but he's stepped up now into juniors, and they've kept with him.
Yeah, and it's good for a driver's development. That familiarity will be helping him as he's gone through this junior season. He's going to be joined on the front row of the grid by Riley Cranham. Cranham, another driver who's had a tremendous 2024 so far for Fusion Motorsport, and with no Harrison Mackie racing this weekend for Fusion Motorsport, could it be Cranham who becomes the focus of the Fusion assault on the X30 junior category here this weekend? Other drivers to keep an eye on. Well, let's go through them now. It's time for your grid in this qualifying heat for groups C and D in X30 Junior. Dan Alleman on pole position, Riley Cranham alongside on the front row. Alex Pinheiro starts on the inside of row 2 and is joined by Thailand's Toby Gale. Nilas Malik and Devon Harkland starts on row number 3. Didier Kreeft and Andrea Galimberti starts on the 4th row of the grid. They're ahead of Ugrana and Tyke Buckley, second in the championship at the moment. Buckley, that is your top 10. Moritz Moore and Elvis Krasauskas start on the row 6. Nikita Nikashov and Jill Herman go from row 7.
Aurelio Gustinelli and Sigrid Rademacher round out row 8. Then it's Angelina Simmons and Archie Owen on row 9. Mohamed El Bouzaki goes from row 10. He'll have the close company of Denis Kozlovsky for company. Evan Minchuna and Flavio Carrier going from row 11. Veer Chopra and Jack Doe on row 12. Wouterbergenu and Elis Laman going from row 13, and rounding out the 26-car field. Now, update on a driver, and I'm going to cast my eye on the man starting on the 2nd row of the grid. The number 23 from Thailand, Toby Gale. 14th birthday yesterday. Yes. So happy birthday to Toby Gale.
Very good. Very good to
Very
see
good.
That Toby's racing on a birthday weekend. What better way to spend it? 8 laps it'll be for this one in X30 Junior, and that again is that shorter race sometimes adds to a little bit of the frantic nature of these heats. But again, these drivers have been very patient, waiting for their first opportunity to race this weekend. They've had a full day of free practice, the qualifying simulations yesterday, getting their strategy right, which, well, kind of went straight out the window when the rain came down, and these drivers all qualified in wet to drying conditions. Now they set about the task of racing. Air temperature raising a little bit, has gone up to 23 degrees. Track temperature still relatively cool, 28.6. Dan Alleman, he gets into the zone of focusing on this race start. We're past the red line now, so drivers will be getting into that 2x2 formation for the start.
Certainly will do. Into the tram lines they go. We've already seen Zach Green take a win. Who will take the win in the 2nd Junior X30 race of the day? As the lights go green, we are racing. Lightning start for Alleman and Pineda. Unfortunately, Cranham caught sleeping there. He slots into 3rd place. The gap was open, and he holds on to that one, so that's still not the worst start for him. The rest of the field slot through. Everyone gets through the first 2 corners unscathed as they exit. One driver, as I speak, that has gone wide, rejoins right at the back of the field, but the rest of the field at the front looks good. Change for the lead as back down the inside, Alleman retakes it. Alex Pineda trying to get the moves done, but he now gets back put into 2nd place.
Yeah, it was a good move from Pinheiro into turn 6, but for Alleman, he responded straight down the inside. He's a driver who likes to lead a races. Oh, down the inside there of Pinheiro. That's going to open the door for 2 of the Fusions through. Stepping through there is Devon Harkland. That was the overtaking attempt, came from Riley Cranham. Hagelin has got through into second place, and for Paul Pinheira has fallen a number of positions there. Look at this, down into turn 1 and turn 2. I think Buckley's coming through the order. Yes, Ty Buckley's had a very good start for Mick Barrett, racing up 5 places. That is why he's a contender for being in the top 3 of the championship at the end of this weekend, recovering after a bit of a weak qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, indeed. There's Toby Gale going defensive from everyone behind. Buckley right there. Hagelin, like you were saying. Kreeft, Malik, Pinheira, Krakowskis, all there as well. I was seeing on our screen a driver going backwards. May have been Aurelio Agustinelli, unfortunately dropping down 6 places to finish in currently P21. Live on board here with Didier Kreeft, who currently sits in P5. You can see there Devon Hagelin just getting past, moving up. A little bit of a move there as down the inside goes Alex Pinheira. And actually Kreeft now losing out on 3-4 spots. Look at them here, though. They're scrapping for position at the sharp end as Buckley goes down the inside of, I believe, Toby Gale.
Yeah, that's for 3rd place then. So Ty Buckley getting on with things here. He's already seen Zach Green take a race victory. Zach Green, who's the closest adversary in that battle for 2nd place. It's still going on in that fight involving Didier Kreeft, who's now down the inside of his teammate Stig de Rademacher. This is into turn number 7. Pinheira coming through. Through the chicane goes Kreeft, taking a big amount of curb through 8. And it's all stacking up here. This is when, as a junior, you've just got to try and stay calm when you're in the middle of one of these midfield battles. You don't want to lose out at this stage of the race. We're still only on lap 3.
No, exactly. There's quite a ways to go in this one. But Dan Alaman looking comfortable at the front here right now. Still Cranham from Buckley. Gale from Hagelin, who are still holding on to his position as they cross the line. To see here now onto lap number 4. But eyes focused on all of this. Gale still there just behind, is trying to find his way past Devon Hagelin, but he's just not able to do so right now. Hagelin with the fastest lap of the race, 56.211, is putting that pace into this racing. Trying to close in on Ty Buckley, who's done a fantastic job to be there in 3rd place. 7 places gained in this race. Superb effort.
It really has been from the Irish driver. Dan Alleman, though, 1.2 seconds is the lead for the Spris driver. As I said, from that move that he made at turn 7, he's a driver who likes to lead. And what I mean by that is he's quite comfortable being on his own, setting his pace at the front of the field, not having to worry about, getting in the slipstream or being in position. Some drivers, they can tense up a bit when they're at the front of the field. They can feel the pressure. That's not the case, I feel, with Dan Alleman. He's in his rhythm. He's nicely controlling the pace in this one. Riley Cranham was a little bit quicker on that last lap, but not to the extent that'll be worrying Dan Alleman right now. The lead is just over a second.
Exactly. Another fastest lap of the race there for Devon Hagelin. As he continues his charge up towards 3rd place of Ty Buckley, but we'll keep an eye on that one because Buckley's race so far has been exemplary. Wouterbergen, 11 places gained in this one as well. The number 65 is currently in P14, with inside that top 15, so he himself is having a good race. So, at the moment then, of course, this is a very early stage of the intermediate classifications. The juniors only having 3 races. Their points are very easy to kind of work out at this point in the IAME Euro Series because, of course, you've got your 2 winners at the moment. Well, you've got Zach Green, who's won, Dan Alleman, who's leading this one on lap 6 of 8. And again, those 2 drivers are well known in this one. As off the track, unfortunately, is Didier Kreeft. And where is that? That is at turn number 2 at the start of the lap. And he's not happy. So what on earth happened there?
Well, I wonder if we'll see in due course whether Kreeft, that was a driver error or whether there was somebody else involved. It is one of the overtaking hotspots around this karting Genk circuit, but either way, for Didier Kreeft, he falls all the way down to 26th and last place. We're on lap number 6, 2 more to go. Dan Alleman holding the lead of the second now. Here is the replay. So there's somebody on the inside of Kreeft, judging from the look to the right-hand side. They're there through turn number 1. It's all okay. That's getting a bit close with Stig de Rademacher. Oh, very close indeed. Mounting up onto the rear axle of his teammate. Now the question is, Was there anybody else involved behind in all of that? That wasn't part of a big pack, but not a good moment there for Didier Krief.
Unsure if there was another driver there, but yeah, from that picture, just a very unfortunate one. The front hooked up and then it just rode over the top, and nothing really could do to stop it. As soon as it started. There's nothing he could do to stop it from happening, and yeah, that is a very unfortunate thing there for them. But still, for the Stid de Rademacher, he's still up a fair few positions. He would have lost out there because, of course, that'll have unsettled the car. His exhaust luckily didn't come off. You can see the springs doing a great job of just keeping that exhaust attached. We go into the final lap of the race, and Anaman lead is over a second from Riley Cranham. Buckley's still there. Huglin's closed in, though. Battle for third is on here. Huglin and Buckley are line astern.
They are indeed, and Buckley needs the points, even at this early stage of the qualifying heats. Dan Alleman willing himself forward. I tell you what, Haglin's not out of this one either. That helmet with a little bit of a distinctive design to a driver who, in his young career, made many waves around this part of the world. There is your race leader, Dan Alleman, into turn 12, then 13, has driven a brilliant race here, is going to take race victory number 1 of his weekend. Dan Alleman out of the final corner, sprints to the line, and it's a lights to flag victory for the Swiss driver. Second to Cranham, third to Buckley, very close on the line, a bit further back, but it's Hagelin who is there in 4th, 5th for Gale, Nikashov in 6th, Pinera, Krasauskas, Malik and Berganu all in the top 10. That's a cracking drive from Wouter Berganu, up 15 places from the very back of the grid.
Yeah, indeed, a superb drive. But for Dan Alleman, that is an excellent way to start his weekend. He can be happy with that one. Like we were saying, in the junior category, at the moment, Dan Alleman is not in that championship fight. So this weekend is a pure enjoyment weekend. Yeah. Let's just see what we can do. Can we get a trophy at the end of this one, I think, is his objective.
Can they get a trophy? What can they learn as well? Because it won't be the end of the IAME International Racing season, of course, this weekend, but is building on already, taking a number of victories across the course of 2024. Dan Alleman wins by 1.114 seconds from Riley Cranham, Buckley, Hagelin, Gale all in the top 5. There's a look at some of the runners in the second half of the field. David Mintuna, Flavio Cara, Mohamed El Bazaki there ahead of Elias Lehman, who moved from the back of the field as well. Yagrana, unfortunate, had a bright start, but the driver representing India finishes P20.
Indeed. Well, drivers make their way back into Parc Ferme, and again, the Weybridge is ahead of them. They need to make sure this is all good. Of course, driver Ancart, you can see there that there is some water now on the track. Don't worry, because that's there on purpose. That's just to cool the tyres down so they don't all grip up and be stick to the tarmac and stick to the metal on the Weybridge. So that's the only reason why that's there. But yeah, for Dan Alleman, great way to start the weekend. He can be delighted with that one. Let's see how it was done, because again, the start here, that inside line got away well. It was well timed at the front. The rest of the grid just caught sleeping a little bit there. Yeah,
they had a bit of work to do in the early stages to recover. I think there was an early investigation as well for Andrea Galimberti in the number 98. This was the view on board Didier Krief. Devin Hagelin, who had a good race there, got it down the inside to gain some positions off the start. Malik running a bit wide there out of turn number 2, and there would be problems for Didier Krief later on in the race. Elvis Krasauskas getting through there in the early stages. This was the only point where Alleman didn't have the lead. That move from Pinera down the inside, but this was one of the bits that really impressed me from Alleman in that race. Determined, straight down the inside, took the lead straight back. From a lap chart point of view, never lost the lead.
No, exactly, and that's a vital skill to get. If you lose a position, don't worry, immediately attack back, try get it back, because the longer you leave it, the harder it's going to be. And textbook there for Dan Alleman, and you can see from that point on, then the battle really started to kick off because Devin Haglin got up into second place. It brought Cranham with him as well. Pinheiro was there just behind trying to get through. Then you had, of course, Tyke Butley, who was fighting his way. And, of course, Tyke Butley, who's second in the championship, needing these good results because, again, he needs to try and maintain that second in the championship.
Maintain that second place and fend off the strong form of Zach Green in this latter part of the season. Battles raged on through the pack. Didier Krieft was once again in the middle of it all, carrying the camera pod on board his vehicle, and you see everybody changing lines back and forth on the run to turn 1. And the interesting view here is going to be once again what happened with his teammate Stigler Rademacher. This was slightly earlier in the race. This was on lap 3 down the inside of his teammate, following Pinheiro through. Shame for Didier Krieft, because it looked like there was a solid top 10 potentially on there.
Yeah, it certainly was. And here's the outside view from that moment, just down the inside. That brought everyone into play. Unfortunately, going backwards a little bit there was Angelina Simmons, who tried to gain those positions on that inside line. Fortunately, just didn't go his way. There's the view. No one was around them, so that was just a misjudge of braking, I think, at that point. And, yeah, just got caught up on that rear bumper. So that is a big shame. Here's the onboard again. Yeah,
this is the onboard of that incident. Good catch by the camera operators. Yep, just got it wrong. And Stigler Rademacher was very, very lucky there not to sustain serious damage that would have brought him in before the checkered flag for Krieft. Things to think about, i.e. protests, but unfortunately, cameras don't lie on that one.
I don't think he was protesting on that one. He may have been just apologising there. I don't know. But the checker flag went out. Very strong drive there for Dan Alleman. Riley Cranham just holding on there. You can see so was Tyke Butley, because Devin Haglin almost had the pace there to get into third place. Would have to settle for P4. But for Dan Alleman, he joins Zach Green. And, yeah, certainly can be delighted with that one. Now, Dan Alleman, who out-qualified Zach Green, bumps him up first. But we'll talk more about that later on. We'll turn our attention for the first time this weekend to the Mini X30 category. Qualifying heat A and B is the first one that'll be heading out onto the circuit. And again, we saw their time qualifying yesterday. It was a good time qualifying. It was an interesting time qualifying because, again, there were drivers who got caught out with rain, weren't they? It started to start to eep in at that point in the second race, wasn't it? The first one went out, then it really started to get worse in the second one. And then we started to think, times, people aren't going to get those times. But Jarlath Sayer in the first one certainly did a good job. How are your singing skills, Andrew?
Terrible, but Jarlath's are very, very good.
They are very good, and you can catch him now in this interview after time qualifying.
Here with Jarlath Sayer, our fastest driver in the first group of X30 Mini in qualifying practice. Jarlath, good job there, P1. Good work with your teammate Oliver Warner. You must be very pleased.
Yeah, thank you. Quite good. Me and Ollie pushing. Good for the team. 1-2, so yeah, we'll have it.
How much do you discuss with your teammates the tactics before a qualifying session like that, especially with the slipstream being so important around here?
Well, yeah, we said that we wanted to push, but to be fair, we weren't really that concentrated. We were singing before the session, so.
What were you singing? Is it allowed?
Yeah. Pizza on a mouse pad, na 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 na. Chips, na 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 na.
Back to the qualifying session. It's been a really good season for you. You've always been up at the front. What do you think is going to make the difference with potentially taking some race victories here today?
Well, I mean, Fusion, we've got loads of drivers, and hopefully me and Ollie, and if Maxine can be there, all push and get away.
And Genk as a circuit, is this one that is high up your list of favourites? It's quite different to other circuits that we've been to, whether it be in Europe or in the UK.
Yeah, it's quite a good track. It is very high up there, so yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Jarlath, I know you'll want to get your debrief done with the team, and best of luck for the weekend. We'll see you later on.
Thank you.
What the words he said, pizza and pasta.
I have no idea, but it was one of my favourite interviews of 2024. Guaranteed. Brilliant stuff.
Guaranteed. There we go. He'll be starting this one on pole position. Jarlath Sayer, you can see him there on the left-hand side of your screen. There is the main grandstand here. That is on the entry into turn 12. They've got a great view of most of the circuit. There is Sukhmani Kira, who also had a fabulous time qualifying, and I think was unaware that she
Yeah.
put it at the front of that group. Now she's obviously in part of Group B. She'll be on pole position in their next round of qualifying heats later on today. But when we caught up with her, she was I on pole?
Yeah, she came in. Obviously, when you get first in group, you get pulled into the scrutineering bay, and Sukmani Kira was part of the group where the rain started coming in around the second, third lap, and Kira had got her lap in. Was fastest at that kind of warm-up stage if it had just been a dry session, and the rain came down and she stayed at the top. It was a fully warranted position, and we'll hear more from her later. But yeah, when she pulled into the scrutineering bay, she was like, well, which position are we in? It's like, you're first. And she was delighted with that, and yeah, really good to see. You know, she scored some points, broke through that duck earlier on in the season. This is another opportunity for Sukmani Kira to take a big step forward.
Exactly, and that excitement, of course, is always fantastic to see. Of course, these young drivers in a very early stage of their racing career. And, of course, this the Mini X30 category is one of those big stepping stones up into the world of racing. Of course, juniors is next. Then, of course, heading into the senior categories. And then from there, the world's your oyster. You can go into pretty much anything you want to in the world of racing. But for right now, the Mini X30 category is nearly set, ready to go. And like we were saying, Jarlath and Sukmani Kira starting this one on the front row of the grid. We're going to see a different driving style in the Mini X30 category. If you're new to watching kart racing and you are just joining us on the broadcast, this is the youngest of the driver classes that we have out there. And their driving style is just that fractionally different. We'll go over that in a few moments' time. But let's take you through the starting lineup for this one. Jarlath and Sukmani Kira starting it on row number 1. Achille Ray and Achilles Peruzzi go from row number 2. They'll have Antoine Venet and Gilles Raffet rounding out row number 3. Samuel Hugden and George House round out the top 8 on row number 4. They'll have Tony Cachefero and Harry Williams on row 5. Hannet Svedi and Austin Newstead round out row 6. They'll have Nahil El Gahoudi and Julian Cortele on row number 7.
Baptiste Bragio and Daniel Ferguson go from the 8th row of the grid. Ben McCluthery and George Clark start on row number 9. Aurélien Lemaire and Bruno Priam start on the 10th row of the grid. Luca Pavel and Lewis Boots start on row 11. Lorenzo Givirao and Sami Ilias start on the 12th row of the grid. Then it's Aidan Valio and Antoine Boots on row 13. Mason Hibbert and Benjamin Krajkovic start on row 14. It's a 30-strong field, completed by row 15. Nahil Padavani and Milo Cornell.
Well, the championship standings at the moment, Will Green entering this round is your current championship leader with 72 championship points to his name. Zdeněk Babacek, who we'll talk about a little bit later on, qualifying did not go his way, is second in the championship. Ludwig Granqvist third. Head of Austin Newstead, who is in this race, is in P4. So again, we have drivers here that we do need to keep an eye on. And the main one, I think, in this race, Andrew, is Austin Newstead.
Yeah, Austin Newstead will be looking for strong consistency across the course of these heats. A driver who's often started race weekends well, set himself up for finals, but not quite had the look in those bigger races. And for him, good opportunity to get some points on the board in this one. 7 laps due for the X30 Minis. Fusion Motorsport, this front row lockout. They'll look to control this one early on, but they're going to have some difficult opposition. I think particularly, I keep an eye on the likes of Antoine Venon, who's going to be moving through, or looking to move through, the driver on home soil there on row 3.
It certainly is. Right, drivers making their way around the middle of the track. We are heading in towards turn 13. They will pass the red line now. No overtaking is permitted, but this grid is all bunched up and looking good. We've got some hands up in the pack there, but everyone else looks good. That might be the reason. There's a driver very late to the grid, but crucially, everyone is going right into the tram lines for the first time today. Mini X30. We are good and racing, and down in towards turn number 1. It is the battle of the fusions, but it's Saya with that inside line. Sukmani Kira on the outside will get the benefit going in towards turn 3, but can she hold on to it? The answer to that is yes. So it is a good getaway from the field. and the front two on the front row.
Yeah, well-controlled start there from both drivers on the front row, as there's problems out there for Mason Hibbert in the 873, the 820. Luca Pavel is also seemingly out of this one. Change for second place as another one of the Fusions has got down the inside. I think that's been a good start for both Antoine Venon and Ji Fei. They've progressed up into the third nose. It's two drivers out, as mentioned there, on the run to turn number 6. And they'll be looking for better results in round 2.
Certainly will be. Right, we're ending lap number 1 now. Drivers heading in towards turn 14, but we're still seeing moves here down the inside. Samuel Hugden getting that move done, moves himself up into P3. So it's Sayer from Venar, then it's Hugden, Peruzzi, Kira going down. And again, look at this. Oh, when they hit that curb there, all 4 wheels up in the air for Hugden. That might be a little bit uncomfortable.
That was a mighty move, though, from Sukhmani Kira back down the inside to return to third place. There's a bit of a close moment, I think, involving Harry Williams in the middle there. He loses momentum, and he's going to be overtaken left, right, and everywhere else on the run to turn number 7. Good opportunity now for Venon and Sayer to work together. Antoine Venon now, of course, with Fusion. Knows this track well on home soil. He's been strong in other parts of the season. He's got a good opportunity to start things in the right manner. There, down the inside, I think that was Ben McCluffrey coming through. Yes, it was, for the 843 for the Falcon Racing team. Daniel Ferguson in there as well, looking to progress from, well, started this lap in 16th place. That should be back into the top 15.
That will be. Eyes on those top 2, trying to push away right now. But like you say, with Sukhmani Kira still there in third place now after that move in towards turn 1, we are seeing this drive-through. Achilles Peruzzi still there as well, pushing himself through. But it is Bruno Priam with the fastest lap of the race, who is up 13 places, like I was saying. And having a really strong performance here. Scratch that, he's up 15 now, he's into the top 5.
Well, this is the thing that for anyone who started on the outside, 2nd, 4th, 6th, they're all the drivers who were in. There's problems at turn 7 for a couple of drivers out there. I think Milo Cornell might have been one of them in the 828 there. We'll confirm that in due course. Anyone who started on the outside, they were in Group 2 yesterday, so they had the rain hit their session. The order, based on what we saw in free practice, what we would have expected in a dry condition, was a little bit muddled up. And Bruno Priam, another one of the Belgians here this weekend on home soil, you would have expected him to have been a bit higher up the order in time of qualifying. Just didn't work out that way when the rain came down. That took away their chance for best performance. Now we're starting to see the kind of performance we've already witnessed in 2024 from Bruno Priam. That was his move for 5th place.
And fastest lap of the race, he has left the drivers behind and is closing in on the 4 up ahead. So we could see a proper scrap on our hands right here. This is the battle just behind. This is Hugden, House and Ray at the moment, battling away as here comes George House down the inside. And Ray follows through as well. Luckily, Ray making those positions. Samuel Hugden now down to P8 on that one, so won't be too happy. But again, is still in the race, is still in that train. But again, we'll have to be careful because he'll have Harry Williams, he'll have Ji Fei behind as well. McCluffrey's still there as well, who's up 6 places, currently in P11. Eyes on this. Sukhmani Kira for 2nd place, gets through past Antoine Venet and moves up into 2nd place. And again, they've got to be careful. Every overtake they do, Bruno Priam closes in, and you can see that lone Spirit Racing kart just eke that gap away.
Yeah, Bruno Priam's absolutely flying at the moment. 61.605 seconds the last tour of the circuit. Hanikira a little bit wide through the chicane, but she recovered it well as down the inside goes Peruzzi. Priam's gone through as well, so Venon down into 5th place. This is the chance now for Jarlath to say, whilst there's a little bit of disorganisation in the ranks 3rd, 4th and 5th, Sayer's got to hit it hard and break away. But again, that long straight, especially in the mini category, so powerful with the slipstreamers. Down the inside goes Priam back into 4th place. It really is a hard circuit for a leader in X30 Mini to break away. Another attack. Oh, beautiful stop from Peruzzi. There's a battle going on between Venom and Priam, and Peruzzi just switched it back to the inside and emerges with third.
Yeah, that was nicely done there. And again, you can do that in this mini X30 category. The karts are so narrow that you can get these 3-4 kart battles that go wide like that around the circuit. And again, you can just squeeze a kart down the inside that doesn't look like the gap's there. But now Bruno Priam there in third place. 17 places gained in this race. Qualifying didn't go his way, but he is making it up in these qualifying heats, and that is what you need from a driver.
He's showing that he's going to be a force to beat this weekend.
Yes.
Bruno Priam, as I say, he had a flying start to 2024. You remember all the way back to Valencia in the IAME Winter Cup in February. And yeah, this could be a very strong weekend for him indeed. End of lap number 6. On to the last lap of the first heat of the weekend for X30 Mini. Jarlath Sayer has led this one from the very start of the race, but has not got it won yet. Sukhmani Kira, who shared that front row, she's there in second place, looking for a big result here, but it's Bruno Priam that they've got to keep an eye on, because Priam's going to go down the inside of both of them.
Oh, no!
Kira gets on the inside, takes the lead of the race. Antoine Venon takes advantage of that and is up to second place. Jarlath Sayer will not believe what's happened there. Kira and Venon are gone. It's still raging on in the battle for third place, but what a moment there in turn 6.
Well, that is just eyes too big for your belly. 2 places that Bruno Priam tried to gain there, and unfortunately just collided with Sayer. But Sukhmani Kira here into the final corner on the last lap. She was surprised that she was on pole. Will she be surprised here?
Oh.
She might have to be as they go wheel to wheel. Antoine Venet is going to try and get it, but it's going to go the way of Sukhmani Kira in the first race of the weekend for Mini X30. It is Sukhmani Kira on top. Absolutely superb.
What a moment for Sukhmani Kira, who's come into this season looking to build and build and build. She has a heat victory in the IAME Euro Series, and that is going to please the team by a great deal in Fusion Motorsports awning. They will build for the second round of heats, knowing that she is going to be a leader in the qualifying heats intermediate classification, irrespective of what happens in the C versus D race. Antoine Venon was 0.048 seconds behind in second place. A really good run there from Antoine Venon. Bruno Priam in third place, gained 17 places on the road in that one. Jarlath Sayer, again, it's kind of the story of Jarlath Sayer's 2024. He's always there or thereabouts, but something does tend to happen quite regularly for Jarlath Sayer. It's still fourth place, it's still good points, but I think he might be a bit disappointed with that finish.
I know, that is a big, big shame there, but like I say, still a strong result. There is a look at the results on your screen. Like we're saying, Sukhmani Kira taking the win, Antoine Venon taking second place. Bruno Priam finishing in P3 ahead then of Jarlath Sayer. Something tells me that might not be over just yet. Achilles Peruzzi from Achille Ray. Shihua Fei finishing in 7th place. Samuel Hugden and Ben McCluffrey finishing in 9th place after gaining 8 places. Harry Williams from George House. George Clark from Tony Cachefero. Haditz Ferry from Austin Newstead. We didn't say much about him, and he dropped to P15. Championship contender there, not having the results he would have wanted, Andrew.
No, not at this stage, but there's still more heats to go, of course, and it is a very, very close category here this weekend. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from that first race of the weekend for X30 Mini. Here was your start. Very even between Sayer and Kira running down into turn 1. Achille Ray on the inside from the second row of the grid was looking for a good one, but it's actually Antoine Venon who got the better run and immediately got up into the top 4. And in this early stage, Anthony, it was looking like Fusion had full control of this one with 4 of their drivers right at the very front of the field.
It certainly did. That was that dramatic spin there on the track for Luca Pavel. Amazingly, he might be a bit dizzy after that one, but thankfully he is okay. Yeah, like you say, for the field, excellent start. Everyone kind of getting away at the front of that one. And we saw the little scrap here at the front, the Fusion drivers going to work, and they all managed to get 1, 2, 3, 4 at that point. Everyone else trying to file into position. Achille Ray battling away, Peruzzi having to fight his way through at this one. This moment here from Sukmani Kira, I think that move there kind of settled everything and put her in a position where she was able to utilize that last moment on that last lap.
It was a really key one because in the context of the rest of the races, there was a moment for Harry Williams. It meant that when Bruno Priam started picking the drivers off one by one, she almost had that natural defense of just being a little further up the order. Now, if she'd been down in 4th, 5th, 6th place, she wouldn't have been in the right place at the right time for later on in the story of this race. That was Achille Ray going down the inside. This was a confident move as well from Sukmani Kira, going down the inside of Antoine Venon. Yes, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that he's got Jesse Phillips's old race suit on, so don't be confused by that one. That is Antoine Venon in the 844. Race raging on, and Bruno Priam then joined the quartet of Fusion runners at the front of the field and had some very good pace.
Yeah, it certainly did, but all the way throughout that, just eating away at everyone's lead. That was the first initial overtake to get into that group of karts. Then this one here again, down the inside into P3. That tried to settle that one, but again, just back down the inside. Venon just utilizing the attack there from Bruno Priam, and you can see there just eking it down the inside. Superb. And again, that gap looked like it wasn't even there, but the minis see a way through, don't they? That risk factor kicking in. This moment here, though, I think eyes bigger than belly on that one for Bruno Priam. Just got the move done on Sukmani Kira. Yeah, that one was on, and I think if he just squeezed the brakes a little bit harder, he'd have made the apex. I would have to have worked harder on that one, but just let off a little bit more, and unfortunately, yeah, Jarlath Ser was a clear victim in that one.
Yeah, Jarlath probably didn't see him coming in as well from the position going into the braking zone, but Sukmani Kira read that situation really well to just hold herself back and take advantage of it. Very close on the line there. Antoine Venon giving it all the way. If it wasn't for that little hop over the curb, might have had the momentum to get it over the line, but it's Sukmani Kira's race victory. She takes 0 points through to the second round of heats. 2 for Venon, 3 for Priam, Saya 4 and Peruzzi 5. That result, of course, at this moment is provisional.
Indeed, of course. Well, there is another Mini X30 race coming up in a few moments' time. Then we go over to the senior category again for their next round of qualifying heats. They'll be again out later after the lunch break. They've got so many more races to go over the course of this weekend because there are so many of them, 110, I think, entries for the senior category. After the lunch break, then again, we go for juniors for their second round, and again, minis will see them out later on today. They won't be ending the day, but certainly they've got a busy day of racing ahead of them. The day does end with the last of the senior races, be Group A and E, D and G, then Group C and F. They will end the day here, and that last race starts at around 6 p.m. local time here in Belgium. So if you're local to Europe, set those alarms. We're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. The second Mini X30 race is coming up next.
Racing Spirit was born out of the need to create a clothing line that could embody the passion and the experience that OMP gathered and cultivated working alongside the most successful racing teams of the last 50 years. Racing Spirit garments are made by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. They can be worn every day in leisure time, but especially on race venues. From the paddock of the hottest Formula One races to the service parks of winter rallies in all weather conditions. Racing Spirit offers a complete range of clothing and accessories for men and women, designed and developed in Italy, combining aesthetics, comfort, and functionality. Because of these features, it is the brand of choice of several prestigious motorsport outfits and organizations. Racing Spirit is the meeting point between high quality and Italian style, as well as the introduction of sustainable materials and innovation, such as the use of graphene. Racing Spirit offering comes with 4 options: cutting-edge designs and customization techniques. Lifestyle is a line of garments ideal for everyday and leisure wear. with refined style and innovative materials. Crew are custom garments of the highest quality that strengthen the visual identity of the team or organization. For instance, the choice of Skoda Motorsport and Dallara. Corporate is a full custom designed clothing line for sizable organizations, such as Toyota Racing Development. Finally, the Teamwear line for maximum creative freedom uses sublimation printing technology derived from OMP's racing experience. Similarly to the other Racing Force Group brands, Racing Spirit shares the same DNA of competing to be the first and ultimately become the reference in the market.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the IAME Euro Series Round 4, live here from Genk, the home of champions. Mini X30 qualifying heat C versus D. The second race of the day for the mini category is coming up next, and they're very pointedly showing Ross Upton with the 1 minute board ahead of this one. There on your screen, Oliver Warner, who was fastest, well, it was part of one of the quickest drivers in their timed qualifying. Puts this one on pole position. He will have Alfie Davidson alongside. There's a look at the top of the trees here. Now, that's a bit misleading because those trees are very high up in the air. So the breeze is very strong up high, a little bit lower down. It's a little bit calmer. We are surrounded by very high trees. It's a bit eerie, isn't it? I feel like a T-Rex from Jurassic Park is going to come out from the trees here, but that won't happen, don't worry. It is atmospheric. That's a good word to use it on that one. Someone I want to talk about in this one, sitting on the 9th row of the grid. We'll go over the starting lineup in a few moments' time. Zenit Babacek, second in the championship, didn't have a good qualifying, so he really needs a strong result in this one.
It's similar to what we said in the previous race. Anyone on the outside are drivers who are in the second rain-affected qualifying, so it's all a little bit jumbled up in there, depending on what times they had when the skies opened. Here is your grid then for qualifying heat C versus D in X30 Mini. Oliver Warner on pole position, joined on the front row by his teammate Alfie Davidson. Ludwig Grönqvist, hopefully we'll have some shots from his 812, starts on row 2 alongside Lorenz de Koch there in the 897. Bruno Grieling and Will Green. Will Green, your championship leader heading into this weekend. They start on row 3. Maxim Bobrashov, winner here last year in IAME Euro Series, starts on row 4 alongside Daniel Miron Laurenti. Lorenzo Di Pietrantonio starts on row 5, is joined by Guido Ebergeni. Christian Kobe and Aurelio Longitano start on row 7. And then on row 6, rather, on row 7, it's Alexandre Pont versus Isaac Zari.
Colby Patterson and Milan Baku round out row number 8. They'll have Jules Zikon and Zenit Babacek, like I was saying, second in the championship on row number 9. Harley Musk and Noah Goodin-Ye rounding out the top 20 on row 10. They'll have Ethan Bailly and Levin Barber on row 11. Kim Min-jae and Senna Shelikans go from row 12. They'll have Aaron Buffer and Theodore Constantinou on row 13. Orion Mehta and David Acton round out row 14. They'll have Liam Buckley and Isaac El Houthi on row 15, rounding out the field 30 kart grid. And again on this formation lap, tyre warming happening, temperature going up, sun is shining, Andrew. It's becoming a nice day again.
It is indeed. Top 3 in the championship are all in this race, so their point tallies at the start of this weekend. Will Green on 72, Zdeněk Babacek on 55, and Ludwig Grönqvist on 53. Now, with the drop scores, it should be remembered that Babacek has got a margin for big improvements, did not have a good first round of the championship, so that's why, with a very good weekend, he could still overhaul Will Green's 72 points. It can't all be decided, of course, in this heat, but only 3 of them for all of our drivers. It's key that they get good results and a good start to their weekend. We're into the tram lines. Are we good for a race start? Yes, we are. Lights out, away we go. Good start for those on the pole side of the grid, but Davidson's trying to fight round the outside there for P2. Grönqvist alongside. It's going to be your pole sitter, Oliver Warner, who will lead off of the first couple of corners. At the back, there's a number of drivers involved in there. Theodore Constantinou is one of them. The 902 of Liam Buckley, I think that's all towards the back of the field. That those 4 drivers are out of the race. As on the grass there, that's the 812 of Ludwig Blomqvist. That's one of your top 3 in the championship, having a bit of a rough ride in the early stages of this one.
Certainly so, but at least it is only the first qualifying heat of the weekend. It's not the end of the world, but again, you don't want to get really bad results in these ones. Looking at this now, Warner and Davidson leading the way right now. We've still got Will Green, who's there in 3rd place, so he's gained good positions in this one. He's gained 3 places, but he has got that company just behind those. So do have to be careful as this race progresses. But right now, across the line, it's all good then. Warner Davidson, then it's Will Green. Lorenz de Kock is there in 4th place, having a brilliant start. Bruno Grieling from Daniel Miron-Lorente in P6. Then it's Maxim Bobrajov from Aurelio Longatano. Christian Kobe from Noah Grenier, who's up 10 places from P20 to P10. That is a superb start.
Superb start, showing local knowledge perhaps. Noah Grenier with that run into the top 10. We're on the 2nd lap of this first heat for groups C and D in X30 Mini. I think Will Green will be quite happy with this scenario at the moment, Anthony. He's moved forward. The 2 drivers ahead of him are not his closest adversaries in the championship. Oliver Warner does still have a distinct chance of making waves in these championship standings. Remember, of course, he won the first round of the season at Suera, but has had difficulties in the middle part of this season, particularly at Franciacorta. The crucial thing for Green right now, he's ahead of Babicek and he's ahead of Gronqvist. So that's good moves at the moment from Will Green, and he's closing in on the top 2.
And it certainly is. And again, we saw a close race earlier on with the minis. I suspect we're going to see an even closer one here now with the competitiveness of this field. Warner, Davidson, Green, de Kock, Miron-Lorente now with the fastest, but Will Green's going to send it down the inside. He splits the 2 fusions and moves up into 2nd place now. That brings everyone back into play. He's going to go for another one. Will Green back down the inside at turn 7. So one overtaking towards turn 6, the next into 7. Brought everyone back into play right now, and a big switch over there for Daniel Miron. He moves back down the inside, and I think he's just got himself up to P4 now, P3.
Yeah, it has indeed. And for Will Green, this is a really good start. Looking at his scores so far in 2024, I think there'll have been a big focus this weekend from the Jamie Green Racing on let's get our best qualifying heat score so far this season, because again, with how the drop scores work, it's all about beating what you've achieved before. For Will Green, you look at the scores that he's had. It's out of the race is one of the GGMs. That's the 896 of Senna Shelikans. I think there's problems as well. Look out there possibly for Ludwig Gronqvist. Further problems, Anthony.
Yeah, indeed. Ludwig Gronqvist has pulled it into the pit lane. He's retired from this race, so that off-track excursion that we saw earlier on may have played havoc with this car. Yeah, Senna Shelikans, they're clearly not happy there whatsoever. It was in the middle of the track, and the marshals there quite quickly on the scene. Back down the inside. Daniel Miron getting through past Warner.
Lovely stuff from Daniel Miron-Lorente there. Just to go back to Will Green's championship scenario, said that of his qualifying heats performances at the 3 rounds so far this season, his best result is actually only 5th, which was back in Italy at round 2. So if he can be, you know, 1st, 2nd, 3rd maybe in the intermediate classification come the end of the super heats, he's going to gain a lot of championship points. But not if Daniel Miron-Lorente sweeps it down the inside like that. Brilliant stuff from Daniel Miron-Lorente, who's your new race leader.
He certainly is. Daniel Miron is not part of the championship fight, but Will Green, who is, fights back instantly. Zenit Babicek, fastest driver. Look how close this is. It's bringing everyone into it. Green's at the front. This is a risky place to be there as again Warner tries to get the overtake, cuts the track, and tumbles down the order. Yellow flag has come out, so that is, I think, a slow procedure. So the race has been neutralised now. The drivers, I don't think, have seen it. They've seen it now, but they do need to be careful, and that's the reason why we've got the 891 at turn 12 that's gone backwards. That, unfortunately, is Ethan Bailly. Yes, and looks to be in a bit of discomfort. So the race has been neutralised. at the moment. But despite that, we're still getting drivers spinning around. That is Maxim Bobrishov. Oh, Maxim Bobrishov tumbling down the order. He had gained so many places in this race, and now he's down to 21st.
I think there was damage on the rear of the kart as well. Maxim Bobrishov, who was your winner here last year for the 2023 season finale, won here 1 week ago as well in preparations for this round. So actually no, apologies, Bruno Priam who won here 1 week ago. But well, Maxim Bobrishov, that is not the end of his weekend, but a bit of a blow to his hopes of repeating what he did here last year. We are still under slow procedure. We're on lap number 6. This is actually very good news for Will Green, because it just takes the pressure off. The laps keep on counting down, and he's potentially only going to need to defend for 1 lap here, and that's even if we go back to green, because you could see that Bailly's kart was still stationary down there at turn 12.
Yeah, indeed. But if we do go green with 1 lap to go, yes, okay, you're right in saying that it means he's going to got to defend for 1 lap, but then all the other drivers behind have got the mentality of, I've only got 1 lap to overtake, and will go all guns blazing to try and get that position done. But like I say, it's only their first qualifying heat. It means something, but it doesn't mean too much. That's a great sign to see there for Ethan Bailly, walking away from the incident there that has caused this slow procedure to come out in this Mini X30 qualifying Heat C versus D. But Will Green there, you can see at the front of this one, ready to get this one restarted. But we are on the last lap, so yes, we are going to be ending this one under checker flag by the looks of it. So the race order that you see right now will be the finishing order. So that will be good for Will Green, exactly what he needs. Again, where are the drivers in this one? Well, of course, for Ludwig Granqvist, third in the championship, he's obviously out of this race already. Where is Zdeněk Babacek? Now, Babacek, 8 places gained as in the top 10. So that's not a bad race for him.
It's not a bad race, but the trouble is, Will Green is championship contender at the front. If he can keep this form going, he's going to be taking it out of people's hands. So we're going to have a neutralised finish to this race. Will Green will come round the final couple of corners and take the field to the line. Checkered flag is being prepared, and Will Green takes his first race victory of the weekend. Starts his bid to seal the championship very nicely indeed. Lorenzo Lecoq in second place. Daniel Miron Lorente was a big feature in that one, finishes P3. Christian Kobe P4. Alfie Davidson wraps out the top 5.
And he does. Well, never a nice way to end their first race of the day, but nevertheless, race is over then. Top 5, of course, you've just seen there on your screen. But that means then that Will Green joins Sukmani Kira at the top. But again, because Sukmani Kira actually out-qualified the championship leader, she is at the moment leading those intermediate classification points at the end of their first round of qualifying heat. So we'll see the minis out later on today. But for Will Green, who can be delighted with that one. For Lorenz de Kock, again, that's a good race there for Lorenz de Kock. Again, not the best qualifying, was down the order a little bit, but 2 places gained in that one. Was starting on the second row of the grid, but still pushing his way through.
Yeah, and getting something from the outside as well. I mean, being in Group D, it's going to be a regular thing for Lorenz today, but a good return on that first race. There's a look through the rest of the order. I think there's going to be a few drivers in there really disappointed with that. Maxim Bobrishov in particular.
For one,
P22.
yeah, he was very upset after that spin.
Ludwig Granqvist as well, one of the several retirements in that race, but most importantly, good to see that Ethan Bailly walked away from that incident down at turn 12.
Indeed. Well, there is your race winner, Will Green. who will be starting this one, who finished that one on top and again puts himself in a really strong position. Let's see the highlights from that race. The start there, a little bit shaky for one driver, not within the tram line. Some drivers thinking they're going to go around again, but it was green flag and racing. And initially, great start from the front row. Warner and Davidson, they looked like they could have been two drivers who could have worked together and just driven away from the rest of the field, but that didn't happen, did it?
No, it's not on this occasion, but they controlled the start of the race pretty well. This was the view on board with Ludwig Gronquist. There's a quite direct point to Ollie Warner. Go! Let's get on with this. Let's get racing. Was a good start from Davidson, holding around the outside, and then holding on what would be the inside for turn number 3. Alfie Davidson, who again has had a very strong season, has not featured at the front as much in the IAME Euro Series, but I think seeing that 850 up at the front is going to become a more regular thing across the course of this weekend and maybe 2025.
Indeed, that was Gronquist going off the circuit there. That little bit of off-track excursion could have caused a little bit of damage to the kart. Unfortunately, further down the order, there was a spin for Ryan Mehta, I should say, which I think he ended up under investigation as well for. So again, he needed to be careful on that second half of the race as he tried to fight his way back. Green getting himself up to 3rd place. That was a key one. There was the move of how that happened. Would later then close in on the two drivers up ahead, and it would completely change the dynamic of the race, wouldn't it? Because then these two would start scrapping. Then you would get the other drivers coming in. Like we were saying, Lorenz Ticot coming through. Daniel Miron was another driver also coming through. In the 805, you can see him utilising that overtake from Will Green. And just look at that, just straight down the inside. Superb bit of driving there.
It's great to have Daniel Miron Lorente back. Had a fantastic run at the very start of the season at the IAME Winter Cup. And back in form, back in action here this weekend. That was how we lost Senna Schellekens, quite clearly. The front left, not in factory condition, shall we say, and one very frustrated driver in that moment. There was Daniel Miron Lorente down the inside again, and then went for the move on the race leader, Will Green. This was before the slow procedure came out and the whole circuit was neutralised. Will Green, that was a key move. That was the one that they got in the race win in the end, because it was down the inside before the slow procedure started. This was the moment where Oliver Warner ended up on the grass over the curb, rejoined the circuit on the inside there in safety, but slow procedure would come out to neutralise the race to its end.
And there was Bobajov spinning, so that is at turn 13. You can see the marshals there clearly showing slow procedure, slow down. Some drivers got the message. I don't think others did, and unfortunately, as he slowed down, others didn't behind, and unfortunately, and there was the reason for the slow procedure. Ethan Bailly, thankfully, okay at the end and walking away from his car. But the race would end under slow procedure. Will Green would take the win ahead of Lorenz Ticot. Daniel Miron Lorente finishing in 3rd place. Not the way they wanted to have ended it, but again, well, at that point, it is what it is at that stage of the weekend. Right, juniors and minis are done for their first round of qualifying heats. They'll be back out later on today. We turn our attention back to the senior category. Senior X30 qualifying heat B versus G is coming up next. And Andrew, I am looking forward to this one because, again, we've got some very competitive drivers in this one, not including just this man here, Andy Rattel, who, again, took a win earlier on, including in that one, but qualifying was good for him. Here's what he had to say.
Andy Rattel, fastest driver in the first group of qualifiers for the senior category. Really strong lap there. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I did a good lap. The guy in front was losing a bit water, so I think I can be faster, but it's still a good lap, so it's okay for the heat.
First and third sector looked really strong for you out there. Purple on that last lap. The pace relative to other sessions we've seen today, very, very close there in the 54.6s. Do you think that lap will be enough to stay on pole position?
No, I think the third or fourth group will be faster because better tracks, the temperature will be better. But finish in top 4 in quali is still a good result. Start 4th row for the heat, so it's very good.
looking at the season as a whole so far, it's been a strong season. Sat 6th in the championship points. What's the aim for this weekend? Do you reckon you can get up into that top 5?
Yeah, I hope finish top 3 in the final and see where we can finish for the championship. But it's still a good season. Every time in top 10 in every final, so it's good.
And this Genk circuit, it's a very well used one on the international karting scene. Is it one you enjoy?
Yeah, I love Genk. It's a very, very good track. So it's very good to be fast on this track.
Very good. Well, Andy, brilliant lap there in qualifying. Best of luck for the races, both this afternoon and tomorrow.
Thank you.
Well, great to catch up there with Andy Rattel, who's starting this one on pole position. Our man on the grid there, Ross Upton, giving us some fabulous facts. We'll talk about them a little bit later on in the race, but tyres, many have been deployed, Andrew. And at this stage of the weekend, does that seem a little early? I don't think so. They had a lot of races yesterday, and they've had a lot of races so far today. I'll come back to that one because the cameramen have got distracted by some rental carts. Now, that circuit here is actually on the same piece of tarmac as what this main circuit that we're racing on, but this circuit's called the Fun Circuit, which I don't know why they're the Fun Circuit, because our circuit is the Fun Circuit. Or is ours the Serious Circuit?
Ours is the Serious Business
Ours is
Circuit.
the Serious Business Circuit. That's the Fun Circuit, but it's still on the same piece. It's the same track as this one, but there's just tyre walls covering it off. So there we go. But there we go. There is Marcus Luzio starting this one on the front row of the grid. Marcus is a driver who's not deployed any fresh tyres just yet. He's still on his original tyres. So you've got drivers who have deployed. You've got drivers who haven't. He's one that hasn't at the moment. And could that play against him in this one, Andrew?
It could, but Marcus has been very good at taking the tyres deep into the competition so far this year. He is one of your championship contenders. Starts the weekend third in the points on 49. So, yes, this is going to be a tough one, especially with him starting on the outside of the grid. You know, he's going to have a tough time through turn 1 and turn 2, and hopefully still be in play by the time they get to turn 3. But again, it could swing back into his advantage later on in the weekend, and potentially when the track's a little bit more rubbered in as well. It's still not quite, I think, at the pace that we saw yesterday before the rain came down. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. For a moment there were problems for Andy Rattel, but he's got going. Let's take you through the grid.
Indeed. Andy Rattel starting this one on the front row of the grid. Marcus Luzio joining him alongside. Roxanne Lantinga back out on track. Another P4 from her earlier on. Sam van der Heijden joining on that second row of the grid. Vilma Svan and Christian Biasati going from row number 3. They'll have Natalia Granada and Matteo Giaccardi on row 4. Alan Garcia and Austin Gale go from row 5. They round out the top 10. They'll have George Nassar and Enzo Menendez going from row 6. Joseph Smith and Cahal Clark round out row 7. Hugo Besson and Luca Horton on row number 8.
Theo Lee and Morgan Knudsen will start this one on the 9th row of the grid. Carl Lutard and Charlie Gloom complete the top 20 on row 10. Fred Green and Miguel Silva start on row 11. They're ahead of Luca Muller and Nicholas Simic on row 12. Row 13, David Cosma Christopher starts alongside Torben Grøndal. Row 14, Alessandro Bigi and Thomas Van Vliet on that one. Hugo Bruin had a good race yesterday. We'll start this one from row 15. He's joined by CJ Bennett. 31 drivers due in this one, completed by Matty Vanderbroek on row 16.
Well, we saw the slight hiccup there for Andy Rattel. He's currently the 4th car in this lineup. He'll have time and plenty of space to get back up into his pole position start, but I'm sure the drivers up ahead of him will make that as difficult as it possibly can be, because if they can gain another position before the race even started, that's good. But now they have to slow down, and Rattel immediately reclaims that top spot before the red line, which is good to see. Sun again is shining, air temperature is increasing. Now it is becoming a beautiful day. Like we were saying, the temperatures are set to rise to around 30 degrees today, judging by our weather apps. But again, when do we ever believe that they are correct? That is the biggest question I want to ask. Right, drivers heading down the infield straight. This is turn 12, right in front of the grandstand, prime viewing location from the field. But again, at this point, Andrew, all starting to build up. And now we're getting into that time of the weekend where we're seeing those fresh tyres coming in. We're seeing the tension starting to build because this is the last time we could see some drivers really gain some pace.
Absolutely. It's moving time for these drivers, particularly if they're a bit further down the intermediate classification. They need to make it count.
Oh, yes.
Now into the tram lines. Eyes on those lights. Are we good for a race start? We are. Lights out, away we go for 11 laps once again in X30 Senior. Luzio trying to get down on the inside. This is going to be the difficult bit of the start for him. Andy Rattel has got the lead. Luzio has been able to hold on to second place through turns 3 and 4. It was very tight and congested in the second half of the field once again, but all 31 drivers are on their way to turn 6.
Certainly are. Sam van der Heijden as well, holding on to third place. A little late on the brakes as we go 3 wide in the background there. Big sideways moment, and that is a huge one, and that's just a concertina effect, and it's just kicked off in the background there. And unfortunately, some drivers getting caught out in that one. And that looked to me like that possibly was Torben Grøndal, maybe in the CV Performance Group kart, who has spun at turn number 7. But we'll see. No, it's the 4-1. No, it is. It's Grøndal, yeah. So, yeah, he's out of this race, and he's become his own marshal as well. Pulls it clear off the circuit, which is good to see. Race continuing. Rattel leads the way. Luzio in second place. They've broken away from Sam van der Heijden. Of course, it was from there, it was that moment there, third place, that we saw that whole concertina kick for, and that's just released them, hasn't it?
It has. It's put them in a strong position in the early stages of this heat. Rattel defending third place in the intermediate classification right now. If we could get this kind of result home, it would put the likes of Ruben Moyer and Clement Outron under a little bit of pressure. Joseph Smith, you saw there in the victory lane machine, the black and white livery, the red helmet of the youngster flying the flag for Great Britain, up 9 places in the early stages of this one, is now challenging Sam van der Heijden for third place. Other big moves at the start. Luca Horton up 8. That's key, Anthony. Luca Horton did not have a good day yesterday. Raced 3 times, finished 17th, 21st and 30th. If Luca Horton is going to continue into the major races on Sunday, needs to get big results here today as Smith goes down the inside, takes third place away from van der Heijden.
Yeah, nicely done there for Joseph Smith. This is a big confidence boost for Smith in this one. Again, he's not had the results he would have wanted so far this weekend. He has deployed a fresh set of tyres all around his car. He's not done a half and half. He's deployed the full shebang. He wants those good results, and right here, right now, he's done that. And that first lap incident at turn number 7 has helped him out quite substantially as well, with drivers going wide. But still, 10 places gained in these early stages is a good job.
You have to get a good result when you've done what Joseph Smith has decided with the strategy here.
Yeah.
If you're going to bolt those 4 tyres on, you've got to convert. It's almost like that investment versus reward and risk kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Joseph Smith is doing that. And he just saw the drivers pulling over to drivers right there. I think there's a mass of debris on the home straight into turn 1. It's thankfully before the braking zone, so it's not affecting them once they're getting on the anchors, but something to keep the drivers aware of. I think it's just a bit of dirt that may have been picked up in the early stages of this race. Warning flag for Natalia Granada in the 2.63. Natalia having a tough race out there. Has dropped 7 places and make that 9 places now into 16th place. Also now got the challenge of Thomas van Lier and Hugo Brunner, who are both up 11 spots each into the top 20 and making progress again.
Indeed. There's a look at the tyre graphics, who's deployed new and who has got used tyres on there. Great to see the intel that we've got to us here in the commentary box, and you, the viewer at home. Rattel with the new set as well on the right-hand side of the kart. So again, he's deploying that one, and he's using that very nicely as well, because he's in the lead. Luzio, with no fresh tyres on at all, is now being caught up by Smith.
It is being caught up by Smith, as down the inside there goes the 286 of Vilma Svan. That's the Swedish driver up to 4th place. Yes, Luzio is being caught, but again, his risk that he took in this race by not putting the tyres on was being able to keep himself up in the higher reaches and have a good base of points when he cracks out his second set of tyres. And right now he's doing that. So yes, he may lose this position to Joseph Smith whilst Joseph Smith has the tyre advantage. And down the inside right on cue goes Smith to take second place. For Luzio, there's no point fighting that one.
Yeah.
That is a very quick kart in the hands of Joseph Smith right now. Could be a way of pulling back towards us. One of the Pantanos is out of the race. It's Miguel Silva from Portugal. 281 goes no further in this race. Third place for Luzio in this race. I think it would be a really, really good result and would set him up nicely for the rest of the afternoon.
It certainly would. And yeah, like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head there. He's waiting, and he's got a really strong position right now. He's third place. He's got a big gap between himself and Vilmos Svan. And the good thing you can take away from this is that Vilmos Svan is also another driver who hasn't deployed a fresh set of tyres. So Vilmos Svan is in the same sort of position. Has only gained one position. They're third and fourth. Yes, they're going to not score 0 points. They're going to gain points, which will put them down the order. I know it sounds a bit backwards, but that's how it works here. But yeah, again, they're still putting themselves in a really strong position. And then later on today, when they deploy them, they can come back at it, not having those bad results that they think they will have gotten.
Indeed, as down the inside, that's a move from 287 of George Nassar. Now, George Nassar is another one of the drivers who's got a fresh set of boots on all 4 corners. So Nassar having a strong race, and again, converting the opportunity into good points. The other thing that it does, Anthony, it just puts a little bit more pressure, especially in Marcus Luzio's shoes, on your other championship contenders, the likes of Moya, the likes of McLaughlin and you know, Carinini. What do they do with their tyres at this stage of the day? Do they deploy early to kind of bank in the good points and have their difficult race later on today? Do they stick with what would be the logical option of, again, don't deploy the tyres yet? You don't need to deploy them necessarily yet if you've had some good results on the board. But again, at the end of the season, strange things can happen in the mind of racing drivers and team organisations. We'll see how they go in due course. Another new move from George Nassar. That is Nassar up to 4th place.
Indeed, yeah, nicely done again, utilising those fresh tyres now, getting past Vilmos Svan, who is on those U sets. So again, this could be another position that Luzio needs to worry about, because again, those fresh tyres will close in. Now, Rattel still leading the way. The gap's 0.8 of a second, and amazingly, Rattel on that single set of tyres, he's only deployed it on the one side, is managing to hold on the pace to Joseph Smith with his full set of tyres. So that in itself is a good run. The investments work for Smith, but you would think it's a full investment versus the half investment from Rattel, and Rattel's half investment is working better than a full.
It is. I think, again, this underlines the pace that Andy Rattel's got here this weekend, that we've seen through free practice, through timed qualifying yesterday. In these dry conditions, particularly when it's a little bit cloudy out there, Andy Rattel is a real force to be reckoned with this weekend, and they'll be hoping that it stays this way across the course of the afternoon. Aaron Garcia with a new fastest lap of the race, 55.008. Garcia in 7th place. Another one of those drivers who has got 4 new tyres. There is your latest scorecard for qualifying heats. Utron from Moya, Rattel, then Kalteren, Verity and Meerschout. And of course, it's only Rattel at the moment in that top 6 who is racing at this very moment. So it's a good position for Rattel, because effectively he's got a race in hand over the other competitors who have still got to do their 3rd and 4th runs.
No, exactly that. Eyes on the fight further back. Anna Garcia, Sam van der Heijden still there. P6, P7 on your screens. And again, Alan Garcia is another driver who has deployed the fresh set. So again, he's pushing himself up in this order. Only 3 places gained, though, so hasn't had the momentum as what the others have had at this stage. As, again, blue sky shining here is the sunshine. There's Rattel leading the way. Gap is 0.7 of a second now. It's come down. Smith is closing in. Is it at a rate fast enough to warrant any troubles? I think no, because the last lap board will be coming out this time to Andy Rattel. And again, this is a really strong performance from him. He's had the 2 wins earlier on. He had the 30, he had the 2nd. He's accumulated that into another win now, and he's adding to that tally. These 0 points will be helping him out. He's third in the intermediate classification. He's got his 5 points, like it was saying, from that third and second that he's had earlier on. But these wins now, these are the most important ones, because again, if Utron goes out again and he finishes 5th or below, then Rattel's in a good spot. So is Moyer, of course, in the intermediate classification. He's only got 2 points to his name. So again, these wins are so important for Rattel right now.
Yeah, and it's continuing to boost his confidence as well here this weekend. Into turn number 12, Andy Rattel has led a very calm and collected race in this one. It's going to be his third time seeing the checkered flag first here this weekend. Andy Rattel takes this one with a really good drive. Joseph Smith comes home in second place. Marcus Luzio holds on to third place. That could be a key finish for Marcus Luzio here this weekend. Aaron Garcia got up to fourth place on the last lap there, so got past George Nassar and also Vilma Svan. That is your top 6. Sam van der Heyden in 7th place, and it's another Dutch driver in the top 8 as well. Roxanne Lantinga scores another top 10.
Certainly does. Well, there, Andy Rattel, I'm sure that smile is getting ever bigger underneath that helmet for the Frenchman. He can be delighted with the results here so far this weekend, but we'll see him out later on today, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. The same for Joseph Smith, Luzio and Garcia, who finish out in the top 4, but they'll make their way back to Parc Ferme now. Again, this all boils down, of course, points. The championship fight is still up for grabs, but we'll keep an eye on those positions. There is a look then at your provisional classifications at the end of that one. Rattel from Smith, Luzio from Garcia, Nassar from Svan, Van der Heyden from Latinga, Horton from Besson. Then it's Letard finishing just behind. Giaccardi from Bassati. Green from Brun, the top 15, 14 places gained for Hugo Brun. That is a superb end to his race, Andrew.
And not the first time that we've seen that from
No,
Hugo Brun
indeed.
this weekend. So another driver looking to bounce back from a difficult timed qualifying. For Andy Rattel, that leaves his results this weekend as first, third, second, first and first. There is a look at Torben Grøndal, one of the 2 retirements in that race, the other being Miguel Silva. And Rattel on the scales there, going through the official procedures necessary at the end of a race that he's taken as the winner. He'll head straight into the scrutineering bay for all of those mandatory checks. Whilst we have a look at the highlights, here was your race start. Rattel on the inside, Luzio on the outside, knowing that it was going to be tough to hold that second place through turn 1 and 2, but he just about held himself in there. That would give him the next corner into turn 3. You see 3 wide into turn 3, and that was a crucial stage, I think, for Marcus Luzio's race. Remember him running on used tyres on all 4 corners of his machine.
Yeah, this was the moment down here into that. So there you can see just down the inside, that was Natalia Granada just going on the back, and that unfortunately caused a huge concertina effect just in the background. There it is again, just a misjudge of braking, and unfortunately for some drivers that just put them straight out of the order, and that's why we saw Ana Garcia, who had gained those positions in the early stages. He just lost out on them massively at the start of that one, purely because of that moment at turn 7. And the biggest loser from all of that was, of course, Torben Grøndal, who unfortunately retiring from that part of the race.
Yeah, real shame shame for those guys down there. Joseph Smith used those new tyres, warm new tyres as well, hearing from down in the pits that tyre temperatures in excess of 65 degrees up towards 70 degrees here this early afternoon. Smith went on the attack once again. That was the move down the inside of Marcus Luzio. Luzio tactically thinking it through, knowing didn't need to fight that one, needed to keep the pace up, the average pace across the race, and so Smith was through to second, third in the end for Marcus Luzio, and he only held on to it by about 1/10 of a second, so it was a key decision that he made at that stage. George Nassar went on the attack as well, another driver using fresh tyres. That was him getting past Vilma Svan, and in the late stages as well we saw moves from the 235 of Aaron Garcia. Garcia, who would race up to 4th place, but it was Rattel's race victory, a 3rd of the weekend. Joseph Smith took the risk and it came up very well for Joseph Smith with second place, gets him properly back into contention. Marcus Luzio, the first of the championship contenders to complete that round of races, will be happy with third place. More racing to come here in Belgium. X30 Senior Groups A and F will be out shortly for this short ad break.
It makes life a lot easier out the track, so you don't have to worry about school and on-track performance and grades and all that sort of stuff.
The school understands exactly what I'm doing. They understand, how important it is for me, and the schedule that they, cater for me is really well balanced, and I really enjoy it.
It's a very fine balance between his sporting career and also his studies. He doesn't have to compromise on either. I'm very happy that Menewa has supported us through this journey.
The communication is great, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think MVA would help a lot of other races. A lot of people come into the track and asking about it. What do you do for homeschool? Like, how does it work? And I always say, Minerva, you need to contact them and get going with them, because it's made my life so much easier.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the IAME Euro Series Round 4, live here from Genk in Belgium. You just saw there in the ad break a glimpse of what these drivers in the championship are fighting for entry into that IWF, the IAME Warriors final that'll be taking place later on this year in Valencia. But we'll talk about that later on, because we're racing right now in the IAME Euro Series as a championship on the line. And the next race is coming up, qualifying Heat A versus F. Once again, we'll talk about it in the race, but tyres are coming into play here again. Current championship leader Finn McLaughlin is in this race. He starts P20 a little further down, but again, the results, he needs them in this. He needs to push forward Andrew, because again, his fight is becoming harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, and we're in damage limitation mode, and this is all about, for Finn McLaughlin, how far up the grid on Sunday can he get to? Well, first, can he get onto the grid?
Yeah.
On Sunday's final, and how high can be. I'm a bit surprised he hasn't deployed new tyres in this one, because he had a bit of an unfortunate last race. Let's take you through the grid then. For this next one, it's Groups A and F heading out on track.
Clement Outron, who's had a perfect weekend so far, starts this one on pole position. Can he maintain that one? Marc Lepiccolo and Yannis Boulier going from the next spot. Ruben Moya joins him on the second row of the grid. They'll have Jan Veyard and Gustav Vineski on row 3. Marcus Glum and Benjamin Borg-Irana go from row 4. Mateusz van der Kerkhoff and Adam Ferrazzano round out row 5. Suleiman Zamfari and Alessandro Tedesca on row 6. Marc Granada and Hugo Gillet round out row 7. They'll have Annabelle Briand and Luca Montebello on row 8.
Asier Garcia and Otto Pukkinen will start on the 9th row of the grid. Lauritz Sash and Finn McLaughlin start on row 10. Jeremy Swan and Jarno Wiese will go from the 11th row of the grid. They're ahead of Morgan Moore and Eric Vess on row 12. Row 13, Keanu Wellens and Juan Aluya. Row 14, just a single kart starting on that one. It'll be Poland's Marcel Matijevic. Dylan Patel and Victor Agater start on the 15th row of the grid. 31 drivers due out in this one will be completed by row 16. Kevin Baker and Robbie Buckley.
Well, again, field getting themselves the tyres up to temperature of what they need. Of course, the deployment of some brand new sets out there. We've got everything like that. Track temperature now started to rise. Now, that is being helped out by the sun that is now shining down on it. 35 degrees, so that will certainly help get the temperature up to tyres in the temperature.
Sun and continuous dry running, because the air temperature's in the last hour or so only gone up by a degree. The track temperature has gone up by about 7 degrees. So that's what we're meaning when we're saying that the tyre temperatures that we're hearing back in the reports from down in the pits are getting quite warm indeed. So, formation lap underway. Drivers coming through turn number 12 through 13 before they reach the red line right ahead of us here in the commentary box. They'll know that they can't do any more overtaking, no soaring through 4 grids of the field. They'll line up in 2x2 where you are on your side of the grid. It's a bit stretched out at the back of the field, but they've still got it's a nice run they've actually got through turn 14, 15 before they hit the tram lines to get into a proper formation. Are they happy with this one? No, we're going to go round again. Big gap between on the pole side of the grid. Yannis Bouillet and Johan Verra were not bumper to bumper in that one, so that's an understandable decision from race director Martin Bean to send them round again.
Indeed, yeah, and that is our first false start of the weekend, I'm right in saying.
Second one. First one today. We had one yesterday.
Yes, that's
which one it was now.
No, neither can I, which is why I thought that was our first one of the weekend. So there we go. But yes, there we go. Good to see. But right, drivers again, extra lap to get temperature into tyres sorted out and everything like that. I've said it many times already throughout today. We are expecting the temperatures to increase even more. We are expecting the air temperature to reach around 30 degrees. Track temperature in tow will go up. And we got a bit of results. You've already spoken about it very briefly on this one. Tyre temps looking very hot. You can nearly boil a cup of tea on a tyre when it comes in.
This is where the tyre strategy really starts to become an even bigger factor than we've talked about at length. If you've not deployed your second set right now, as the temperatures start to get higher and higher, I'm increasingly thinking that's quite a good move, because the drivers who have deployed are going to have to use worn tyres when the temperatures really, really get up to later on this afternoon. There is a sight on the board with Finn McLaughlin, who has not clearly deployed new tyres. He's got the camera on for this race, though, so let's see what he can do from 20th on the grid. Are we good for race start? Yes, we are. Lights out again. 11 laps underway for X30 Senior. Good start for Clement Outron, who will hold the lead. Oh, it's a bit of a conglomeration in the second half of the field. A number of drivers have been delayed. One kart with a deranged NASA panel. It's the 236 who's out of this one straight away. Bit of a scrappy start, Anthony.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see at all for the field, and there's more coming together. So this was another car that I think missed out at turn 1 and completely cut the track. Is now stationary and being squeezed out of the way. Good to see. But right now, back at the front here, still a great getaway for Clement Outron. Side by side here, Mark Piccolo in the inside of it. Just has to settle further behind.
It was Matthias van der Kerk of the 236 who is out of this race. And there's been a delay for Johan Verra out there as well. We'll update you on further drivers in a bit of bother after that first lap. Outron leads, though, from Bouillet. Moya up to third.
Yeah, indeed. And that will be a shame for Matthias van der Kerkhoff, because he deployed a fresh set of tyres on the left-hand side of his kart. So, again, he won't be too happy with that one. On board with Finn McLaughlin, who has had a good start to this race with all that happening in front of him. He's up into P14. In fact, I think he might be up to P13 now, because I think it was Isaac that he just got past at that point, and can confirm that that is the case. So he's up 7 places now into P13. And you can see there right in front is Mark Piccolo, who again has just struggled at the start of these races.
Let's have a look at the replay. This was the start of the race from on board with Finn McLaughlin, and this is the danger zone. This is what the, right in front of him. There is, well, that is why Matthias van der Kerkhoff is no longer in this race. The question will be, is there further damage to Finn McLaughlin's kart? As I say, this is what happens when you have a bad qualifying. You know that every single one of your heat starts is going to be like that. It's a risky business being there on the 10th row of the grid.
It certainly is. So much is happening around. You've got karts in front, beside you, and behind you, and it's always a risky place to be. Right, Ruben Moira is closed in into the fast lap of the race. This is understandable. He's got a fresh set of tyres on the right-hand side of his kart. He has deployed a half set right now, and he's utilising that massively. Now, Clement Outron is risking losing his first race of the weekend, and he would now match Ruben Moya. They'd be joint on second points, but who out-qualified who in this one? Well, Clement Outron out-qualified, so, of course, he would maintain that lead. So if he could drop down to second, he won't be the end of the world.
But this could be a really shrewd tyre play from Ruben Moya. If he can take the lead of the race, if he can get himself ahead of Clement Outron, he could still emerge in this race as... Oh, I thought he was going to go for a move down the inside into turn 3. If Moya can get ahead, he can then control the pace of this race. He could theoretically then play a game and try and back Outron into the rest of the pack. Moya's got down the inside into turn 6. Got it done. Now it's very interesting to see how they respond. Outron tries to get back down the inside. He knows that getting the lead of this race and keeping control of his own destiny is really, really key here. These are the top 2 drivers in the intermediate classification at this stage. And look, Bouillet is right there. That is good news for Ruben Moya, because if Outron starts losing positions in this race, in this heat, this could be a very key moment with who ends up on top of that final intermediate classification and who gets those 10 championship points tomorrow morning.
Alessandro Tedesco just in the background there. You could see him punch in the air, speaking to Aaron Ferrazzano just behind, just saying, come on, let's try and close up to this battle because they're kicking off here. Outron has not dropped back. Moya's going defensive, so I think, is he trying to back him up? I think he is, but now he's got the inside line. He backed him up too much, and now Outron's going to retake the lead, and now Moya's on the back foot because now Bourrier is going to be right there. That's brought in Tedesco, it's brought in Verrazzano. Hugo Delayed is right there as well. Venevsky is also there, so again, keep a close eye on this one, but Moya trying to outplay. Outron has been outplayed himself.
He has been. He's now going to push on, and Moya's not going to be defensive for the next couple of laps. He's going to try and get in ahead of Outron, use that advantage of the fresher tyres on one side of the car again, because he doesn't want to throw himself back into the melee of third, fourth, fifth. Who else is coming through? Tedesco's down the inside and overtakes. Ferrazzano is there as well. Hugo Gelade's flying through. Otto Pikkanen's on the move. Has gained 10 places so far in this race as Otto Pikkanen. That's a remarkable run. That is not a driver who has deployed new tyres in this race. That is a fantastic performance from the Finn.
Yep, certainly so. Pushing his way through the field right now, and that's exactly what you want to see. But there are drivers further back who have gained even more places there. Johanna Luja, 14 places gained, has got fresh tyres, utilising them massively, siding his way through the field now, currently up into P12, 14 places gained. Eyes back on McLaughlin, still in P14, only those 6 places gained has stopped, but again, he's not got fresh tyres on. That's why he's still there, but again, it's still a good result. Here again, oh, Moya is toying with Clement Outron right now as he's trying to go to position. He's back down the inside through turn 3. Like we said, we've not seen many overtakes there, but he's retaken it. Outron's not going to drop back, though. He's going to allow him to close back in, and you can see instantly the defensive line there from Moya. He's going to try and back him up again, but again, here comes Outron back down the inside. He's not going to give that position up lightly. Back into the lead, and here comes Tedesco. He's back there in play in 3rd place.
I just wonder if Outron will now try and play a similar game, because if the likes of Tedesco and Ferrazzano and Gelade can get involved, and particularly Gelade with those new tyres, this could swing back the other way for Clement Outron's purposes in the intermediate classification. He'd quite be happy to see Ruben Moya down in 3rd, 4th, 5th, or even beyond in this race. End of lap number 7. This X30 senior competition is coming to the boil now. Moya again trying to get in the peripheral vision of Clement Outron down into turn number 1. Hugo Gelade is all over the back of Alessandro Tedesco there for 4th place. Otto Pikkanen still coming through the field, is there in 8th. Once again, on sheer pace right now, Outron and Moya are going to break away from the rest of the pack. The problem for Moya, I think if he can get the lead again, that's a big if. I don't think the others behind at this stage have quite got the pace to get past Outron and allow that tactical game to work.
We'll have to see, because again, going defensive, switchback here. Moya back to the lead, and he retakes that spot. Now again, this is a different part of the track here. He's gone defensive here Watch Utron, he'll get the switch back as much as he can. Here comes Adam Ferrazzano. Ferrazzano in the 4-4-1 is trying to get involved here as they go side by side into turn 1. Ferrazzano could claim the lead here as he looks to the outside. There were 3 wide for a brief moment, but Utron's racecraft here is second to none, and he retakes the lead of this one on those used tyres. Remember, the drivers behind him, well, Moya's got the fresh set, but also Adam Ferrazzano hasn't got the fresh set. So you've got 2 drivers on used tyres here, and you've got Moya with just the half set of fresh, who is trying to get involved in this one.
The other driver we need to keep an eye on, Anthony, is Gustav Wisniewski. Wisniewski isn't on new tyres, but has had an early race retirement earlier on in the weekend, so he's effectively got a little bit of fresher rubber than some of the competitors out there. He's in 6th place right now. He could be a factor in the latter stages of this one. End of lap 9, 2 to go. Clement Neutron trying to hold on to his unbeaten record here this weekend. Moya defends to the inside, but not enough, because here comes Ferrazzano down the inside. Jalade's on the scene as well. Jalade is the danger man here. Jalade is the one on completely fresh rubber. Has it all gone wrong here for Ruben Moya? Is it a telling time in the championship campaign of Ruben Moya in 2024? There's battles going on further down the order as well, involving Tedesca, Wisniewski, Suleiman Zanfari, another driver who will have fresher rubber, bouncing back from a disappointing retirement earlier on in the race. I think that was the key move, Anthony. Clement Neutron is now nearly 3/4 of a second in the lead. You've got to give it to Ruben Moya. He's tried his hardest with the tactics, but it's not working out.
It's not working out at all. As back down the inside, Hugo Jalade sends it sideways through turn number 14 and takes that 3rd place away. Superb dive down the inside into that penultimate corner. Moya now, I think, is just thinking, right, okay, let's cool these tyres down. Let's not go too hard, because we're dropping down the order now. I was going to say that I don't think Utron's fully safe. You have to remember that he's still on the used tyres, but Aaron Ferrazzano, who's there in second, also is on a used set of tyres and doesn't need to worry right now at all. Big battle happening there just behind. That was a huge, huge sideways moment for Marcus Glum. How on earth is he still on the racetrack after that one? That was a big defensive lunge there from Wisniewski. I suspect he's not going to be too happy with that one. But back at the front here, Utron, I didn't think he was going to get the win in this one. I've got to be 100% honest, Andrew. I didn't think he was going to get the win. But my goodness, that drive there was exemplary by the young man here. Clement Utron continues his perfect scoring streak at the moment and maintains his 0 points and maintains the qualifying intermediate classification heat lead. Rattel now gets bumped up to 2nd because Moya, with that result, now drops down to 3rd.
I think that's big. That is a big result in the story of this weekend and potentially the championship, because whilst Clement Neutron is not a championship contender, he is taking points, potentially, if he can continue this form, away from those trying to chase down Finn McLaughlin. Clement Neutron makes it 4 wins from 4, takes it by 1.1 seconds. The record books will make it look like that was a comfortable one for Clement Neutron, but us here at the circuit and watching at home, no, it was anything but great run for Aaron Ferrazzano as well to finish P2. That is a drive that needs its praise, because again he had to fight through on some older rubber in that one. Hugo Jalade in 3rd, Ruben Moya 4th. It's not a complete disaster. He drops to 3rd place in the intermediate classification, but he has lost out now to Andy Rattel. Remember, it's 10 points if you finish 1st in the IC, 9 for 2nd, 8 for 3rd, etc., etc. Only the top 10 score points of some description. But Clement Neutron on top, and well, now has a bit of advantage. Now knows that if he can come home with a couple of 2nd places between now and the end of the day, he'll be on pole for a superheat tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a nice buffer ahead of him here. Here's the highlights from that race, and well, buckle in, because there were many of them. The start there, very dramatic for some drivers. Unfortunately for Mateusz van der Kerkhoff, out of the race at the start. There was the sideways moment. That looked to me like it could have been Jano Visa who unfortunately got squeezed off the track there. And again, the drama for McLaughlin getting caught out at the start of that one, but thankfully for him, was able to keep going in that race. And I don't think there was too much damage to his kart, but that was a risky one for his rear axle, Andrew, because, again, that's very easily bent, and if that gets bent, you're very much out of the race.
Yeah, it can have a real knock-on, quite literal knock-on effect to the rest of the machinery. Elsewhere on lap 1, Ruben Moya went on the attack, had a game plan, and was executing it well in the early stages. Back on board with Finn McLaughlin. That was the move down the inside of Lauritz Sash for 13th place. The trouble for McLaughlin in that race is that there was a very much splitting of the field as running wide there was the 322 of Mark Piccolo. Again, had a great qualifying but hasn't been able to convert it into race results. Would be P18 in that one. Here's where it got interesting. Moya got the lead ahead of Utron, and this is where we saw the game plan, and this was all with championship in mind and maximising this opportunity ahead of his closest rival in the intermediate classification. This was all about, could he try and move Utron back a bit and take the lead in the final intermediate classification. Every time we saw Moya take the lead, he'd defend, not heavily, but just again at a rate that would bring other drivers into play. Utron's response, though, Anthony, I was thoroughly impressed with. He fought fire with fire, got back down the inside, got Ferretzano involved in the fight, and it was, I think, his best value win of the weekend so far.
Yeah, 100%, because again, a driver who's not deployed those fresh tyres, and he utilised that massively. And that, I think, was a really key moment, because again, he's still got a full fresh set compared to the drivers, some of the drivers that are around him in the form of Moya and Gilade. But again, as the race went on to this final lap, this was that moment there. Oh, that was what I was talking about. Marcus Clement, incredible kart control to keep hold of that one. But again, at the end of that one, Clement Utron with a very controlled race on that one, and I think can be delighted with the result. Others, though, I can imagine, will be a little bit frustrated with that result. But nevertheless, the racing will continue as we turn our attention now to Senior X30 qualifying Heat C versus E. That is coming up next. This is the last race before the lunch break, which will take about an hour's break, and then we'll be back for the juniors again. But this one, Bertram Sash back on the pole position spot here, the driver who was fastest in Group C, the third group, and yeah, really put himself in a strong position here. He'll have Mattis Moschauts company alongside, but he's going to have a tough one on this one because he's got Danny Caronini just behind him. But there on your screen, Bertram Sash, a fantastic qualifying him for the Falcon team. We caught up with him after time qualifying.
Here with Bertram Sash, our fastest driver in the second Group 4 qualifying here in X30 Senior. And Bertram, I'm going to take you right back to the start of the session because you were one of the two drivers to get a fifth lap in there ahead of the rest of the field. How important was the preparation even before you got out on track?
Yeah, it was a lot of stress going into the Parc Fermé because we needed to go in the front of the grid. And then I was lucky to go out fast and yeah, be fast enough to get a fifth lap.
And being on new materials as well, new tyres, how much of a balancing act is it bringing the tyres up to temperature, knowing that, you know, if you can get that fifth lap, that you've still got the performance?
It's a lot about heating up the tyres, but still doing a fast lap so we can get the fifth lap. So it's pretty challenging.
Let's talk about that lap. How did it feel from your perspective?
It was quite a good lap, but I think I had some more to give if I hit it more perfect, but if it's good enough for P1, I'm happy.
And the work with Falcon Racing Team as well, you know, you seem to be getting stronger and stronger as the season goes on. Does this give you the confidence to get a best result of the season?
Definitely. We have been struggling a bit in the early season, but it's getting a lot better now, and we're pushing for the top.
Fantastic. Bertram, very well done, and best of luck for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
Well, great to chat there to Bertram Sash, who starts this one on pole position. Let's quickly fire you through the grid because the drivers are out on track. It's Bertram Sash and Mattis Moschauts on row number 1. Danny Caronini and King Garrity go from row number 2. Riccardo Ferrari and Julian Cameron round out row 3. They'll have Elo Gonzalez and David Dragan on row 4. Lewis Bird from Rainbow Blanc It's Luke Bertoni and Hamza Al-Fayez on row 6. Alex Machado and Louis Camon on row 7 with Fares Jalil and Roman Rossell, who would be there, but he is missing from the grid on row number 8.
On row number 9, Martin Guiu and Ellie Goldstein. Leonardo Longoni starts alongside Alexi Constant on row number 10. Tess Verschoor needs a good one here. Starts on row 11 alongside Andrea Pirovano. Philip Svensson and Emmanuel Leodikis start on row 12. Emilio van Overberger and Florent Dearda start on the 13th row of the grid. Louis Aguiar and Luna Claret are due to go off on row 14. Marlon Vatter and Wesley de Goy complete the top 30 on row 15. And then last but not least, row 16, Juan Pablo Girard and Kevin Lantinga. Lantinga, who has been probably the driver with the most number of positions gained so far this weekend. We've been some tremendous performances from Kevin Lantinga, but he's got to keep working hard if we're going to see the 222 in big races tomorrow.
I will definitely agree with you on that one, Andrew. Not sure of the reason why Roman Rossell is missing from the grid. I had a look back at some previous races, and I'm not seeing anything coming up with his name on it. Yeah, not sure why he is missing from the grid. Hopefully, if he is injured, we do wish him the best. Drivers making their way around turn 14 into 15 to start this race. It's the last race of the first half of the day. There again, air temperature is up to around 24, 25. Track temperature again increasing. Drivers in the tram lines, lights are green. We are racing down in towards turn number 1. And again, the inside line works well, but so does Matis Machado on the outside. Keep an eye on the KCR driver as Riccardo Ferrari goes wheel to wheel with his fellow teammate Danny Caronini, who is fighting for the championship and maintains third place. It's a good start for the front then. How are they at the back? They're a little bit wide. There's green flags waving, which can only mean one thing. There's a yellow flag, and drivers are off the circuit, but they get back on, and the race continues. Danny Caronini to the inside, gets through past Bertram Sash as the KCR racing driver of Matis Machado takes the lead.
Yeah, good stuff there from both Machado and Caronini. For Caronini, this really is a key race. There's been some decent results for other championship contenders, but none of them are really shining out. You know, it's the likes of Utron and Rattel who've come to the fore. Caronini with a good bit of form across the course of this race and the 2 remaining rounds this afternoon could really put the pressure on championship leader Finn McLaughlin going into tomorrow's super heats. But has got to find a way past Matis Machado.
Wow.
He's looking down the inside into turn 2 and has got the move done. Bertram Sash follows through as well. Riccardo Ferrari in the bright purple and black cart there is back again in 5th place. He's had a tough weekend so far, but this is Caronini's time. Is this the point at which he kicks into that extra gear and disappears off the front of a pack? Machado's back down the inside of Sash, retakes 2nd place. Geraghty's in there as well, but it's got the attentions of Alex Machado, who's on the scene suddenly. Great start for Alex Machado, who's now gained 8 places so far in this race.
Indeed. Well, looking at the tyre graphic there is not a lot of fresh tyres in this one. Oh, Bertram Sash getting caught out there. The train coming through. Now Riccardo Ferrari's under pressure from Julian Kamen. He has got a fresh set on one side of his kart, but again, that is only a handful of drivers there. Riccardo Ferrari now down to P8. Bertoni's gone down to 17th. Jalil's gone down to 23rd, so it's not been a good start. There's Cameron on the outside line. Oh dear, it's all getting a bit crossed over here between the entirety of the mid-pack. And again, they won't be liking this at all. There's Geraghty at the moment, still holding on to P4. Eloy Gonzalez just behind him. And again, the communication there saying, it's Machado that's just behind him, I should say, who's up 9 positions. Now it's Eloy Gonzalez who gets through.
Yeah, and Eloy Gonzalez could be a big factor in the second half of this race because he is one of the drivers who's put some new tyres on just on one side, not all 4 corners. Eloy Gonzalez will look to use those now as that's got very close there between Machado and Ferrari. Through comes Ellie Goldstein. Ellie Goldstein, welcome to the party. The first time we've seen Ellie Goldstein at the very front of one of these races so far this weekend. Knows this circuit like the back of his hand. Had a very exciting race here in the final 12 months ago. On to lap number 4. This is almost feeling a bit more like a junior race at the moment than an X30 senior one. But right now, Danny Caronini is in full control. His lead is 0.4 of a second.
Yes, that, and adding to the fact that it feels more like a final than a qualifying heat. So brilliant stuff for that. So Goldstein at the moment has got a fresh set on the left-hand side of the kart, but again, he's putting that into effect because we've not seen Goldstein gain places like this so far this weekend. So it makes sense that he's deployed them. But only a half. As off the track there, it is Longoni. It's gone wrong for him. He's going to tumble down the order, and unfortunately, it will go with David Dragan, who was also caught out on that one. So they won't be too happy. Right, Riccardo Ferrari battling away. I think he's just got past, or no, that's is that Goldstein getting past Ferrari there? I think it might be. No, it's not. But all the meanwhile, it's all kicking off still. Caronini in the lead, and now cleared by half a second. Mashout's not been able to close in. This is Eloy Gonzalez and Kian Geraghty. This is the battle for third and fourth on your screen. There you can still see Riccardo Ferrari just behind with Goldstein in tow. Now, Riccardo Ferrari got the fastest up of the race. He's got Goldstein behind, who's gained several positions. I reckon these two could be forced to be reckoned with.
Yeah, it's one of those points in these heats where, even though they're on separate teams, Ferrari and Goldstein might work together here to pick off their opponents one by one in the middle phase of this race. There's been a warning flag out to the 293 from the race officials. That's Julian Carmen in 9th place at the moment. Danny Caronini, this is more like it from Danny Caronini. This is what we've seen a lot. I'm thinking back to particularly Franciacorta, where he would get to the front, hit the pace very early on, as Goldstein's going to go down the inside of Ferrari to take 5th place. Well, Ellie Goldstein is not going to work with Ferrari at this stage, and to be honest, you can see the reason why. That's 13 places gained for the driver who's the fastest driver on the circuit right now. We've still got 5.5 laps of this one to go. There's still time for Goldstein to get in the top 3 here.
This race could be a really important one for Goldstein. We've not seen Goldstein out in this championship for the last 2 rounds. We saw Goldstein at the first round in Zuera. Wasn't the best weekend there for Goldstein. Back here at Karting Genk, a very familiar circuit for Goldstein, a circuit that he knows very well. And at this point, now he's got the confidence of the fresh tyres on one side of his kart. This could all be clicking back for him now, and this could be the start of what could be the second half of his weekend, going very well, because again, instantly, straight down the inside, gets it on Geraghty and moves up into P4 now.
Indeed. So we're on lap number 7. LeBlanc's having a tough race out there. He's just dropped down to 15th place. David Dragan on the return is back into the top 20. Unfortunately, there's been problems for Florent Dierda out there. The driver flying the flag for Luxembourg is down to 30th position. Meanwhile, here is your squabble for second place. Meerschout and Eloy Gonzalez. Gonzalez, remember, with 2 new tyres being deployed from his allocation in this race, and looking quick and looking like he's going to go down the inside for second place. Beautiful move by Eloy Gonzalez. Meerschout doesn't fight that too hard. Bit of a similar situation to what we were talking about with Marcus Luzio earlier. I think that was Meerschout recognising, I'm on used rubber. There's a large number of drivers not too far behind. Eloy Gonzalez is closed in, has got better pace. No real need to fight that one too hard for second place.
No, exactly. So we'll keep an eye on this one as it progresses, because again, we've got Gonzalez here who's looking so strong, and could he be in a position now where he could attack Danny Caronini? I mean, the gap, 0.7 of a second, long way to go, and with the pace that we're seeing here from Gonzalez, we could see a change here. I think there has been a retirement from this race into the pit lane. I believe it could be David Dragan, because he's down in 31st place, and I think I did see a car pull into the pit lane. So, yeah, that would be very unfortunate. Check over the line. Half a second now. Eloy Gonzalez, Andrew, he's on his way.
He is, and it's a continuation of what we saw last time out in Wackersdorf. Another driver who had a strong start to the season in terms of pace, all the way back in February at the IAME Winter Cup, and kind of lost his way in the middle part of the season at Thuero and at Franciacorta. As out is one of the TBs. That is going to be the 219 out of the
Is
race.
that Pirovano?
It might be Pirovano.
I think it is Andrea Pirovano, who was the 279 yet, tumbling down the order. And as well, I think it was Luna Claret who was also involved in that one. Now, not sure what happened, but again, 2 into 1 definitely don't go. And we've seen a lot of that in towards turn 1 and 2.
And unfortunately for Luna Claret, it's at least a second retirement of the weekend so far. Looking difficult for Luna Claret to be featuring in the bigger races later on this weekend. 2 laps to go. Carinini, well, he's under a bit of pressure now because Eloy Gonzalez, who had a strong run to third through the qualifying heats and the super heats last time out at Wackersdorf, is on the scene again, closing in to the Italian, who's fighting for the title, of course, second place in the points before the start of this weekend. What has Eloy Gonzalez got? Because he won't have the best of the rubber now. Well, have used it in the early part of this race, but they'll be bedded in these tyres after 9.5 pulsating, punishing laps here as the temperatures continue to rise. Now, what's the... Oh, now that is a big incident. That was Pirovano, and I'm very glad to see that Pirovano, considering that he was wrong way up there for a moment, is okay. That is a very scary moment.
Right, Carinini's checking over his shoulder, and he can see that Gonzalez is there, and he's going to go down the inside. Eloy Gonzalez goes wheel to wheel with Danny Carinini, but Carinini denies the chance of getting past. Now, Danny Carinini, I believe, is yet to win a first qualifying heat this weekend. He needs these wins to really help him out. He needs to move himself up in the order. So he will defend this one like it means the title. But again, Gonzalez is right on that rear bumper. Now Goldstein is here. Eli Goldstein, who just, well, he's here to see what he can do. Also would like a qualifying heat win. Goes wheel to wheel. They were nearly 3 wide of the exit at turn 11 there, but Carinini has the inside line and has the advantage. Goldstein goes round the outside. That overtake will not be allowed because he was off the circuit, and he gives it up. He lets it up. So that's fine. Carinini, though, leads the way, but he will see the checker flag. He'll be delighted with that one, and he will go for his first qualifying heat win of the weekend.
That is big from Danny Carinini. He's not been on his shining form so far this weekend. Now he's arrived. That gets him up to 5th place in the intermediate classification. Can he continue on into this afternoon's qualifying heats and start to close the gap to Finn McLaughlin in the championship bid? That will, of course, all be determined once we get to the end of the super heats tomorrow. That is a really good win for Danny Carinini. I think you can thank Kelly Goldstein for a little bit of that, because that move around the outside of turn 12 that he then had to let up meant that there wasn't going to be an attack from Gonzalez or Goldstein into the final couple of corners. But Danny Carinini, that's a job done. He had a mission in mind to take race victory. It wasn't his biggest winning margin of the year so far, but he will not care one jot about that. He's got the 0 points on the board, wins by less than 0.2 of a second ahead of Eloy Gonzalez.
Yeah, and means he bumps himself up to actually 5th in the intermediate classifications now with 13 points. So still a very good results there for Danny Carinini. Eloy Gonzalez then 5 places gained, finishing in P2. Goldstein, 15 places for Eli Goldstein. Again, fresh tyres will have helped out, but only on the one set. And again, I think that's brought Eli Goldstein back into the weekend a little bit in terms of a mental state, not in terms of the points, because that is a bad scene right now, but in terms of a mental state for Goldstein, I reckon that will really be a confidence booster.
Absolutely, yeah, I fully agree. It's brought him back into the list of contenders. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from that one. It all started with Bertram Sash starting on pole position and seeing whether he could hold on to that one. It wouldn't turn out that way. Matthias Meerschout getting through there was a wild moment for Juan Pablo Gerard in the 300. And again, he nearly got out of the grass on the first attempt, but got hooked back in. Lap 2, Danny Carinini getting through to the front of the order. Sash going through as well. Matthias Meerschout, bit of a difficult race there for Matthias Meerschout. Would still get a top 5. But maybe he'll be needing some impetus of new rubber in the latter rounds still to go here this afternoon. Plenty of battles going on through the field. Kevin Lantinga coming through the order. Again, 20-plus positions gained for Lantinga. That was the moment for Julian Caman where really the tides turned in Julian Caman's race. In the end, 11th place and also a warning flag for the 293, and not the kind of result that he would have wanted.
No, indeed. That is a big, big shame. Gonzalez with his running here. Hello, Gonzalez on that Birolart, just pushing his way through and getting up into second place at that point. The battle still raged on behind, though. Riccardo Ferrari trying to gain his way back up, and he did, actually. He got back to P4, so he actually gained a position in that race at the end of it. So, again, still strong results for him all the way throughout today. But, again, the big gaggle of drivers. Watching this and, you know, seeing the sort of battles that you see right here, Bertram Sash just getting caught out and trying to get his car down the inside, but that's not the race for him. 11 places lost in that one and finishing outside the top 10. Yeah,
he's still on course for, I think, getting through to that top 30-odd drivers will be in the final on Sunday with these performances so far this weekend. But, yeah, frustrating when you've qualified so well to be, again, losing positions across the course of these 11 laps. That was a key move from Eloy Gonzalez, getting up to second place. This was the very dramatic moment. Very glad to see that Andrea Pirovano, a bit shaken, walks away from that one. Luna Clare was also a retirement in that incident. This was the attack from Gonzalez down the inside of Carinini onto the final lap. Carinini defending all the way. This was quite a wise bit by Carinini. Gave Gonzalez the space on the inside of turn 2, but made sure that he still had the run at the inside for turn 3. Goldstein was on the scene as well. Carinini having to make his car as wide as possible to hold on to this one.
Yeah, he certainly did. And again, checking over the shoulders there, spatial awareness, seeing what's left of me, what's right of me. Okay, I can hold an inside line here. That initial move there, Goldstein went off the track, and he immediately gave that up. So that is great to see. So he knew he'd done bad on that one, but still a P3 for him. A superb result. He could be delighted with that one. But the same for Carinini. You can see him celebrate, and there you go. He's celebrating in a qualifying heat. It's just like, yes, that's what we wanted.
If he's going to win this title, it's going to be by a
minuscule.
Point here,
it's
point
be,
there, and the difference between, you know, right now being 6th in the IC or 5th in the IC could be massive. So I fully understand why he's celebrating that one. We're going to go into the lunch break. There is a look at the agenda for the rest of the day. And plenty more racing to come here in Belgium. More heats across all 3 categories as we take you through the course of this afternoon.
Certainly so. Well, we'll be back in 46 minutes' time. Do not go anywhere for the second half of the IAME Euro Series Round 4, live here in Genk.